Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Smoke, Call of Cthulhu. And here we are. Wow, I'm super excited. Number of reasons. My homebrew setting, Tales from the Smoke, Call of Cthulhu, and this absolutely wonderful cast. I'm Andy from Twisted Narrative, and I will be your keeper tonight. Before we get going and do introductions, this is Call of Cthulhu. I've spoken with all of our cast about Lines and Veils, and it is a horror-based game. It is pointed towards adults as well. So please, if that's not your kind of thing, go and watch something else that we've done instead. We don't want to cause any triggers in anybody or have anybody have an unpleasant time. So please bear that in mind. It's just a funny thing to sort of say to your audience, please go away before we've even started. But it is an important thing to consider. Now that is done, though, let us introduce our cast before we enter the game and introduce their characters. So it is International Women's Day. So Jocelyn, sounds good. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Oh, I am a woman who does not know it's International Women's Day.
I hope it is, because I might have just made a big cock up there. But
no, March 8th. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Well, thank you. And solidarity with all the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who identify as women. So my name is Jocelyn. I've been playing with Andy since around COVID lockdown-ish.
Yes.
Mostly D&D, but a couple other games as well. And I am really enjoying just playing around with other types of games, other types of expectations with the same sorts of fabulous people.
I know. And you volunteered to take part in improv again this coming Sunday night.
Indeed.
So you can catch Jocelyn again then. Now, it's been an absolute pleasure having you at my table. We've had some absolutely amazing sessions, and I really, really want to thank you for that. And you should by now be prepared about what is going to happen tonight, but throw all that out the window. The gloves are off. With that, we'll pop up to who's directly to my right, technically speaking. That is Dave. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dave. I've been role-playing since I was little, and now I'm old. Played lots of D&D, lots of RuneQuest, lots of Vampire and Masquerade back in the 90s. Now we're playing lots of Cthulhu as well back in the 90s. So come back to role-playing about 5 years ago, playing D&D with Andy.
Yeah, I think so.
Now running a session. I run D&D with my son and some of his mates. So we're doing that as well. So it's good. Yeah, all good. And one shot Cthulhu is great because you don't have to worry about going mad or dying.
Yeah, I mean, there is very much a freedom about one-shot Cthulhu's, isn't there? Really, you can enjoy the journey, the story, and not worry about particularly whether you live or die. You are supposed to embrace trying to survive, but in a story aspect. And I just think it's liberating. You can do what your character would do without thinking, oh, but I want to play it next week as well. We can play it next week. Yeah. We just roll up more different characters and rinse and repeat.
That's it. We're all dead then.
Yeah. Fantastic. And then we'll move directly below me, Ian. Familiar face, I think, if you watch the 6 o'clock club, but please introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Ian, I came back to the hobby probably 3 years ago now. And in a strange twist of fate, I actually used to play with Dave during the 90s. We used to play in Vampire together. And as is such a wonderful thing about the hobby we have, it brings people not only together, but back together again. So it sounds corny, but it's been great to play in the one-shots with Dave recently. I recognised his voice straight away, and he's a great keeper and DM. I DM for Jocelyn. as well. So yeah, it's when I say Twisted Narrative family, it is definitely a family.
Oh, we're very keen on community. It's just nice. I think in terms of types of gaming, role playing is the most community sort of orientated, because we're all here to tell stories together.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I have this gentleman down here, someone I've known for a very long time, and he very generously jumped in at the last moment. More fool him. Wah, ha, ha, ha. Chris, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Andy. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris. So I got into roleplay around about my 13th year on this planet. So that would mean about 35 years I've been doing various roleplay, from the beginnings, which was Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, through D&D, through Call of Cthulhu, its many versions. I think I've touched most RPGs in some way or another, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Andy for, I was trying to work this out a few minutes ago, I think it's about 6 or 7 years now since the Chimera roleplay days.
Yeah.
So and if it wasn't for Andy, I wouldn't be playing in the groups I'm now, so I owe him an awful lot.
Yeah, and our community, as I say, quite often people say, but I mean, obviously the shop wasn't just me. It was my wife, Heather, who was instrumental in that, and I have to do a big shout out to her. If it wasn't for Heather, I wouldn't be here now. Literally, I wouldn't be running games. I'd be working in a different industry. We've just had someone drop, or the camera's just up. Yeah, it's okay. Something very strange has just happened. I think Chris's internet just.
Chris is just back here. Yeah, Chris is just joining back again now.
That's okay. That's all gone back to normal. The tech is actually working. Listen, it's been great having a little chat to you. It's been great introducing you to our audience tonight. But we are here for a reason, and that is to tell a tale from the smoke, and that tale is going to be by design in the mythos of Call of Cthulhu. So I'm going to show the map. I'm going to try and show the map. Or maybe I'm not going to show the map. I'm going to find all of those wonderful notes that I spent hours writing about. Okay, if everybody is ready, let us begin our tale. The smoke, seen by outsiders as the jewel of Europa, a shining example of civilization. The realities are somewhat different. The city is vast, and within that vastness, there are countless dichotomies, deep divides and contrasts. The splendor where fortunes are spent in a heartbeat, and the squalor where heartbeats are silenced for less than a bite of bread. The Bacchanalia, a district of music halls, theatres and lodges, where those fortunate enough to afford tickets can lose themselves for a few hours. And the Sorrow House Asylum, where the truly lost are condemned. The Spires of Enlightenment is a district of cathedrals, churches and shrines dedicated to all the known faiths, and Suthill is the district of mills, factories and workhouses, where the congregations here are put to hard labour. But for all these differences, however divergent, they are always connected by the single common factor, the ever prevalent smog. It is 2 years to the day that Theodore Duvall was killed in a terrible mining accident in the Southern Territories of the New World. It was especially tragic as only weeks earlier the Duvalls had signed an incredibly lucrative contract with the House of Brass for exclusive mining rights of the extensive landholdings. Distraught at the loss of her husband, Calpurnia Duvall took up the generous offer from Jeremiah Brass to journey to the smoke and make it her new home. Returning with her was Ambrose Anderson, a faithful servant, and Sergeant Thomas Dobbs, one of the House of Brass's New World Scouts. We find our protagonists walking through the gates of Highgate Cemetery, their destination, the mausoleum of Theodore Duvall, the anniversary of his death 2 years ago. Cast. What would any onlookers see? We'll start off with Calpurnia. What do you look like and how are you dressed for this occasion?
Calpurnia is, of course, all in black. She was widowed quite young. She's 28 years old. She's quite slim and graceful. She's very, very aware of how others see her. So you might think that she looks a little bit edgy, but it's more that she's trying to be proper and to do this right because she knows that she's from the New World, which is the boonies, and she wants to present herself and ingratiate herself into high society in the smoke, and so she is very, very truly sad that her husband passed away. She's very uncomfortable at the way he passed away. She's been hearing rumors that there was something odd about it. She was told it was just a mining accident, and that's what she wants to believe. But everything about it is making her edgy, and being out in public, which she doesn't do as often as others do, is making her a little edgy. And so she's very, very grateful that her butler Ambrose is there, and also their dear friend Thomas Dobbs, Sergeant Dobbs.
Very nice. Well, I mean, the smog is lighter today, mainly due to the rain falling like blackened tears, pulling the smog out of the atmosphere. It's slightly acidic as well, and it stings like salt water in an open wound. Ambrose, Mr. Anderson, as we say, what does the viewers, if there was any onlookers, what do they see when they see you?
They see a well-groomed, quite tall gentleman with neat brown hair, clean shaven. He looks quite fit. He's got sharp and defined features with a prominent jawline, high cheekbones, very piercing and attentive eyes. He's always looking everywhere, making sure he can second guess what needs to happen next for Mrs. Duvall. His skin's quite pale as is the fashion of the time, but you can tell that he looks after himself. He washes, he grooms himself. He's got quite a reserved demeanour, conveying a sense of seriousness and purpose. And right now he's shielding Mom from the rain with a very big umbrella, making sure that nobody comes near her, apart from Sergeant Dobbs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll describe Highgate Ceremony at the cemetery in a while. It is vast, but before we move on to that, let us have any onlookers cast their eye across Sergeant Thomas Dobbs. What do they see when they see you?
Tommy Dobbs is a big man. He looks pretty mean. He's not a good-looking man, but he's big, and he's wearing battered clothes. It looks like he lives outside. His clothes are quality, but some of them they've been endlessly repaired. And one of his main things he's wearing is his old ex-army red jacket. He's got a coat over the top of it, but you can still see the red.
Yeah.
And the buttons, and it's very tattered and repaired.
Very
But he's got he's a full Lemmy, facial hair.
Lovely.
Think he's a full Lemmy.
Okay, so one presumes, I mean, black is the colour of death, funeral. Have you dressed in a particular way today, any of you? How are you? Are you going to bring some flowers? How are you paying your respects? What do you expect to get from this? What are you trying to get from this as you, I mean, celebrate the death of your husband sounds so cruel and wrong. surely it's not that.
I'm bringing Miss Duvall here so that she can pay her respects. It's quite difficult to get out of the house these days, and she doesn't realise, but Teddy would have wanted me to have made sure she was out as much as possible. But that's difficult. That's really difficult. And there's been this guy sniffing around. He may be here or not today, but he's been trying to get an appointment with her. So I thought probably best if we did make an appearance. So yes, I kind of probably poisoned the air a little to get her to come out.
Okay.
I'm bringing a vase of flowers. I've been careful to see what sorts of colors and types of flowers are appropriate. Not that I go parading in cemeteries very much, but as much as I can, I try to keep an eye on these things. Mostly I'm just freshly devastated by my loss. It's only been 2 years, and there was no way that I would have been able to have come here if I didn't have Ambrose by my side.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting in what you say there. You've chosen flowers that you think can form and are appropriate rather than perhaps your husband favoured flowers, or perhaps your husband didn't have any favourite flowers.
Much of a flower man. I being from the New World, I'm not used to city life. I'm very much a person of small villages, rural areas. I love nature. I love flowers, but the flowers that grow where I'm from, you don't get here. So
Yeah.
I would love to have been able to have given my own flowers, my own tribute, but I don't feel that I can. So I think that the next best thing I can do is to pay respects in honor of his family, his reputation, because the Duvalls, were very well-to-do, well-respected family.
Yeah, indeed. And you're right. I mean, you come from the New World. I mean, they call it the Wild West because it is both to the west and very wild. But even the biggest of cities, Gotham and the like, do not compare to this. And I mean, you just being here in this cemetery, Highgate Cemetery is only one place of burial in the Breeze district of the Smoke, and here alone are approximately 170,000 souls buried in around 53,000 graves. The cemetery itself is split into two parts, west and east. It's very notable for people buried here, and as well as its status as a nature reserve, it's vast, bigger than perhaps some of the towns that you are familiar with back west. It is one of the Magnificent Seven, as they say. There are 7 cemeteries throughout the Smoke. This, of course, is the cemetery to have a mausoleum in. It is where the rich and the elite, amongst some not so wealthy, are buried. 36 acres indeed of consecrated ground, split into 2, as I have already mentioned. And the grounds are full of trees, shrubbery, wild flowers, most of which have been planted and grown without any kind of horticulture. They have just flourished here. The grounds are also a haven for birds and small animals, such as foxes and the like. So it highlights a number of questions. I mean, it is overwhelming to you if you haven't left the house too much. You probably have visited here before, so but with you trying to keep an eye out, Mr. Anderson, for other people, there are many other people going on about here. It is a massive expanse. As you make your way along the pathways and through the gardens towards the mausoleum, there is, though, someone following at a discreet and polite distance. And if any onlookers were looking, what would they see, Cooper?
So Cooper Trent, very average in his appearance. He's about 5'9", average build. You won't see initially his hair colour. You'll see he's got a moustache and a goatee which has a sort of grey, gingery, sort of very unkempt appearance. But he wears clothing which makes him unnaturally stand out. He doesn't dress like a local of the smoke. He has a more frontiers look, sort of frontier hat, big woolen long coat. You can tell his clothes are sort of meant for the outdoors life, and he wears a pair of quite heavy set boots. The thing that stands him out in terms of his clothing is, although it's not dirty, it's very worn, very shabby. It probably looks like this is his only real set of clothes that he actually wears. In terms of his sort of demeanour, he doesn't come across as sort of someone that you would look to maybe distrust. He has quite a pleasant face around him. Not, he's nothing good to look at. He's average, and that's probably, if it wasn't for the fact he was wearing these quite outlandish clothes, would probably help him to blend into the background. But he seems to be a person of a certain disposition, and his background is clearly important to him in the terms of what he wears.
And the rain is lashing down at the moment, and as I say, with it being slightly acidic, it's stinging. But you've got your hat on, and that's keeping the best off you. Are you following a respectful and discreet distance at the moment? You are aware, without a doubt, why they are here.
Yeah, and for Cooper, that's the one consideration. He has been, I won't say stalking Madame Duvall, but he is very much intrigued by her at the moment. She is a person of interest to him, and he has been watching the comings and goings of her residence. And he had heard, he knew that this was the second anniversary of her husband's passing. So he has been, shall we say, loitering to see what happens, but he is mindful that he doesn't want to come across as disrespectful. He's just trying to gather information.
Perfect. So it's a discreet distance. You make your way through the park, through the cemetery. I mean, if it wasn't for the rain, this place is the gravestones, the tombs, beautiful, no expense sort of spared upon them. Very sort of tranquil as well. Everybody is being respectful. You finally arrive at your destination, the mausoleum of your late husband, Theodore Duvall. Obviously, you were instrumental in the design of such. What does it look like?
Did you leave it to me, Mom? Did you ask me to deal with it for you?
Yes, I did. With the instruction that it be, appropriate, and there would have been one flourish. The flower that I had in my bouquet when we got married in the New World, the main flower in that bouquet, that would be sort of, engraved into the top of the art. Apex.
So
yeah,
Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
I think the crypt itself is in exactly the same flowers wreathed around as Mom is carrying. There are sketches of her late husband to the side, commissioned recently, but I've engaged with most of the major guilds, and they've all contributed in some way. They're all aware of the wealth that Mom carries, and they certainly want to ingratiate themselves in that way. So, although the florists, they're called the florists, I found it difficult recently to get the flowers we needed. They did everything they could for us. So yeah, it's not showy, it's tasteful.
Yeah, Beautiful. And you arrive. You spend a few moments getting ready to, I suppose, put the flowers down. And the mausoleum itself is gated, obviously. It's a single stone tomb above ground. There is gates that are locked. There is an area around the front for you to be able to put the flowers or vases down. There are groundskeepers here, and they do, after time, remove any flowers that have passed their best to keep the place looking right. So there's not the flowers that were previously left there. As you go to put down the flowers, though, you notice something. The gate, it's partially open, only by half an inch. It should be flush, it should be locked. It's partially open. You don't need to make any rolls, you notice that.
Mr.
I'm so
Anderson, Sergeant
I'm so sorry,
Dobbs,
Mom.
what do you know? What has caused this?
No, sorry, Mum. I can only assume that one of the groundskeepers or one of the workmen here have recently been tidying up. Just leave it with me and let me just take a look down very carefully, just to make sure that it is just us here. I'll just be a second. I walk and open the gate and start to
Can you
walk
give me
down.
a spot hidden, please?
I certainly can.
Obviously, Tommy, you notice this. You're with them at the moment.
Yeah, Tommy's looking around. He's kind of sort of surveying the scene just to see who's around, because he's, interested in keeping this other asset safe.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Normal success.
Normal success is fine. Doesn't take you a particular moment to sort of realise this has been jimmied open. There are it's kind of a deadbolt, and someone's put like a very sharp crowbar in and just jimmied it so they could lift it up. The scratches there. This has been forced open, not in a brutal way, but in a very skilled sort of way. They definitely knew what they were doing here.
Ambrose holds his breath and just takes a second to listen carefully down into the crypt beneath to see if he can hear if anybody's still down there at all.
Yeah, okay.
What you found? What you found, Mr. Anderson?
You are disturbed as you, with your acute hearing, which I know you've got, suddenly Tommy says that.
There seems to be something wrong with the lock, Tommy. I'm just going to give me a second. And I just hold my finger to my mouth. And from before, when I do that, it's because I'm trying to figure out what is going on. And so yeah, I'll just take a listen.
Okay.
I am distracted, quite obviously distracted now.
No.
So
yeah.
No, what I mean in general is that my attention is away from Mom.
Yeah.
So if somebody was trying to get closer to Mom, then there's probably an opportunity at this time. Because my
your attention. But obviously, Cooper, you're aware of all of this going on as well. You can see this happening, that something is perhaps not quite right. Give us, have you done a listen roll?
I shall do it now.
Lovely job.
Yeah, I got a hard success.
Yeah. Apart from Tommy, sort of breathing, going, it's okay, I've got this. There's nothing down there. You don't hear any noise down there.
I'm going to take a look, Tommy. Just stay here with Miss Duvall, Mrs. Duvall.
Hand goes into his pocket.
Yeah. Very nice. You I mean, the gates, whilst this is Cthulhu, it'd be nice for them to sort of squeak. They're well oiled. This is a nicely manufactured and very recent tomb. There's the acidic rain, there is the smog that is beginning to chip away, but it's fine at the moment, and the steps sort of lead not particularly far down to what appears to be a sort of stone slab. It is a door, and that has been cracked open as well. It looks someone's made a forced entry in here. They've not been as gentle down here. It couldn't be seen from without sort of coming down the stairs. They obviously knew what to do.
This is Teddy's crypt. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I turn back round and I walk back up the stairs, and I'm ever so sorry, Mom. There's just I just need to get somebody just to do a little clean up down there. There seems to have been an oversight on behalf of some of the people in the cemetery. If you just give me just a couple of minutes, I'm ever so sorry for the inconvenience.
What you got, Mr. Anderson?
There is the door downstairs is ajar. I just want to make sure that it's tidy for when Mom goes down there. So I just need to have a speak to the head keeper of the.
Don't mind a few leaves. And what could it be but a few leaves?
If you, as you wish, Mum. I mean, I would always try and make it as perfect as possible for you, as you know. But if you wish to go down, then we can take you down. That's of course as you wish.
You're always so good to me, Mr. Anderson. But please don't bend over backwards too far. I can handle a few leaves even on a day like today. And the only other thing that you probably would have noticed about her is she does have a tiny limp now as she starts to walk in her left leg. It's a result of a childhood illness, and she has a really ornate walking stick with the head of a rattlesnake on top of it, which is rattlesnakes are very common where she's from. Beautiful black walking stick, and so she basically just uses that sort of the way that you kind of tap with a walking stick when you don't really need it unless you're really tired, that sort of thing.
Perfect. So are the three of you heading down, or is it just you, Calpurnia, or is it who's going down?
Well, I would hand off the vase to Sergeant Dobbs and ask him if he would hold it.
I take it and put it on the floor.
I pick it up from the floor. I pick it up from the floor and hold it carefully.
And I'm looking around behind, like around anywhere that isn't into the.
Cooper, you're not particularly trying to hide, are you?
No, but you did mention that there were, because obviously he's probably been trying to find whether the late Mr. Duvall does have some kind of marking stone, tombstone here. If there are groundspeople around, he's quite kind of intrigued by what he's seeing. So he's going to try and speak to one of the groundspeople if that's possible nearby.
Yeah, there are. As I say, this is definitely a very well kept park. There are well, the closest one I would say. Kind of sort of youngish, maybe very early 20s, got a big coat on and a hat, and they're currently sort of digging what appears to be well, the foundations for another sort of mausoleum, and they're relatively close to this area. It's not like you have to go a vast distance, and you approach him. He's basically.
Pardon me, sir, young man.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask, have you been employed here for a long period of time?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
So if I was to ask a question about the Duvall mausoleum, you'd be mindful of the history of the family and the mausoleum? Were you involved in its construction?
I mean, no, not really. I dig holes.
But were you here when it was constructed? And the ceremony for the late Mr. Duvall took place?
Well, I don't watch. I just dig holes. I
understand. So, can I ask, is this the late Mr. Duvall's actual place of rest, or is this a ceremonial mausoleum?
I think they put him to rest down there. That's what you normally do, isn't it? I mean,
I would agree. It was just
I'm digging all these holes for no reason if they're not putting stiffs down there. Sorry,
indeed.
Excuse my language, sir.
No. I understand. It's just I was aware that Mr. Duvall was he isn't a resident of the Smoke as such. He was brought over here, maybe.
Well, if he's down there, then yeah. I mean, that's probably right.
Ah, okay. No, I thank you. I thank you for your time, young man. And I will make my way a bit closer to the mausoleum, the Duvall mausoleum. See if I can overhear what the conversation is.
Looks at you
between the passing of this plant.
Yeah.
Between these two gentlemen.
The plant is moving from Calpurnia to Sergeant Dobbs to the ground to Mr. Anderson, almost in a ritualistic fashion. So whilst Cooper was having a conversation about digging holes, the rest of you,
do we hear that? Do we see? Can we see that?
No,
or do we see or hear any of that?
You can see Cooper moving back through the rain towards you, but you didn't hear that conversation. It was a distance away.
Does he look like his clothes are quite distinctive though, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's quite noticeable.
I think all of you would probably recognise the sort of New World garb.
Yeah. He's dressed like me.
Yeah. And I should imagine that although you haven't approached directly, you've probably asked questions, and people that I know have told me you've been asking questions as well.
Yeah, I probably would have called at the residence to try and arrange an appointment. So we would certainly have had an interaction, shall we say, and you will be aware that I've been speaking to others.
Uh-huh. And I think Andy said we'd spotted you anyway, kind of, because you're difficult not to spot by the sounds of it.
Well, you weren't trying to hide, so
yeah. So knowing that you're around, I think I'm going to take down the umbrella as Mom steps into the mausoleum to go down the steps. So she's no longer protected from the rain, but we're inside, so that's okay. And then I will close the door behind us and take the plant with me downstairs into the mausoleum.
Okay, so it's basically like the gate. So you're going to close the gate and then descend down the stairs.
I know I can't lock it because it's been jimmied.
Yeah.
I can certainly pull it across.
Do you want me to come down with you?
Yeah, well, you will, because you were with Teddy when he died too. So I should imagine that Mom would want you to pay your respects too.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've got other things to do, like keep an eye on things out here.
It's his funeral, man. It's his death day. We need to respect him.
I'll come down.
This paranoia of yours, it's overwhelming sometimes.
It's kept me alive for quite a long time.
As you're having exactly that conversation, this slab of stone shouldn't be open at all. All of this is completely off. And as you sort of push it open, it's plain for you to see, although the sort of dim light is coming down from the outside, sort of lighting this relatively small mausoleum. the casket has been broken into and the lid is off. You can
Hello.
clearly see that.
Well, that won't do. Can we take a closer look at this? How's it been broken?
This is more than a few leaves.
I had said that yes, Mum. I had said I wanted to go down, and you said you could deal with a few leaves. I didn't say it was a few leaves, but you were insistent you wanted to come. Yes.
Who would such a thing?
I have no idea, Mum. But I can assure you I will find out.
Can I take a look? Just
absolutely.
let me take a look at. Is it dirty, dusty? Is there any signs of footprints or anything like that?
The mausoleum, it's smallish as you go down. There is some dust in there, but it's kind of been disturbed by you opening the door and going through. You probably will have to take a better look. Unfortunately, one of the things that is obvious to you is that, well, the cadaver is still actually there. But rather than in a bad state of decay, it looks very, very different. The body itself is withered. It is a dry husk. The skin of what remains kind of pulled tightly about the bone. The face in this Richter sort of grimace. It is indeed a terrifying sight.
Does it look kind of mummified, like desiccated and dry?
Yeah.
I've seen exposure burials like this.
Yeah. Can you give me sanity rolls, please?
Oliver?
Yes. Well, everybody that's kind of looking at the corpse at the moment.
I'm looking away and saying, Sergeant Dobbs, what? He hasn't been taken or anything, has he?
No.
Did you
still there?
Make your sanity roll?
I've made my roll.
Yeah, I made mine as well.
Okay, so no penalty there for the moment. As you can see this, it's horrific. I mean, you're not entirely sure what has caused this. What is also apparent, though, both of you would be aware of this, is that the wedding ring and his very special watch has been taken, and so has 2 of his gold teeth that he had and was buried with. The wedding ring, obviously special for those reasons, but the watch was a personal gift from Jeremiah Brass when the contracts were signed a few weeks before the unfortunate mining accident. It was a magnificent timepiece, one of a kind.
Okay, I take off my long coat that I'm wearing, and I drape it over the front of the coffin, so that if Mom does walk in, she's shielded from the view of her dead husband. And I go back out and say, I'm so sorry, Mom, but there appears to have been a break-in of sorts. I would say there's been some grave robbers here. I have an idea of who we need to speak to regarding this. But I would suggest that if you do wish to pay your respects, that we do it maybe on another day.
Robbers. To my Teddy. This is unthinkable. Unthinkable on top of the unthinkable. Who would have anything against my Teddy?
I am not sure it is anything against the master, Mom. We see when we walk the streets there's destitution here. People will try and take what they can to survive. This may just be a simple grave robbery, but we shouldn't, and you shouldn't have to put up with this, especially for the arrangements that we made. So forthwith I will be contacting the appropriate people and our contacts in the different houses to understand who has done this, and we will make sure we get justice.
Andy,
Taken
Sorry.
everything.
I think it would make you upset to see, so I would advise against it more.
I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to put the flowers at the side of the casket. And I'm going to stand there for a moment and I'm going to be twisting the top of my walking stick and crying silently. And then I'll lean a bit more heavily on the walking stick and come back up to Mr. Anderson and say, all right, another day.
As soon as you lean heavier into your walking stick, my arm is beneath yours to support you, as it always is.
While they're doing that, Tommy's going to take a look under the coat again.
Yep. Okay.
And just take a look at this corpse a little bit more closely.
Okay.
Because I've seen quite a lot of this sort of, well, I've seen a lot of corpses.
Yeah. This is very unusual. It doesn't match up to anything that you've seen before. You might have seen similar, but certainly not in this state. Can you give me first aid or medicine, or you can pose something else if you think it's appropriate with your experience of being a scout in the Wild West?
Yeah, I don't think I've got much in the way of first aid. I'll go for a first. I haven't got any medicine, so the only thing I could think of would be track. If I'm looking for sign of interference,
tracking.
I was thinking of that.
Yeah, tracking can come into play in a little while.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it's just I've actually passed my first aid roll.
Perfect.
With a normal success because I rolled 22.
So just so people know the way that the mechanics of Call of Cthulhu work, you've basically got some percentile skills, and there's a whole list of things that you can do. And when you roll the dice, you want to get underneath the skill amount that you've got, skill total. And if you succeed, you get to tick it, and at the end of the game you get to try and skill that one up. Very, very simple sort of system, very intuitive as well. So you succeed, and yeah, there wouldn't have been many fluids in the body anyway, but any fluids that was in this body seem to have been almost instantaneously removed from the body. There wouldn't have been any kind of real blood anymore.
And he died in a mining accident.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was interesting, really. Let us sort of consider that for a moment.
Does it look like he was buried underground and then died and dried out and became mummified?
Well, no, I mean, he wasn't in this state when he was put here, put it like that. This is different. In the mining accident, there was an explosion. Someone laid the wrong charge at the wrong place. Very unfortunate. It caused a collapse. The real tragedy is that he was trapped alive and didn't die of the collapse upon him, but the amount of time it took to remove all of the heavy rocks that had fallen down.
So did he suffocate or starve or thirst?
Starve and thirst, yeah, dehydration. The standard things. It took such a long time, and there was a concerted effort to get him out. It was just a big collapse.
It's a big job.
Yeah, so his body was in a relatively good state for a corpse. It hadn't been crushed by the rocks. Yeah. But this is different. It's almost like anything that was at all sort of liquid or moist has been drawn out. Let's say you with the successful.
Does it smell? Does it smell? Does it stink
can
of
you
rot?
give me? There's no obvious sign of rot, not anymore, which is
If
unusual.
I smell the corpse,
Yeah.
does it smell of like embalming fluid, or like does it smell like it's been treated or anything?
Have you got chemistry? Or give us a chemistry roll.
Give us a chemistry roll. No.
Well, I know you don't need to do that, Dave.
No.
but your character-
But my character is not of that ilk.
There's an odd smell, is what I'm saying to you.
There is an odd smell.
Yeah, if you give me a
But it's
chemistry.
not one that. I've rolled. No, I failed. I think you've got. Is it 1% chance on chemistry?
Have you got natural world? Because that might.
Oh, I might have actually. I might have some natural world. It depends which version of the character I've got on. Because I made 3 different versions. Hang on. Oh no, he's one without. I've got 10% on natural world.
Yeah, well, give us one of those as well, because you.
And I failed catastrophically by rolling 86.
No, it's fine. There's an odd smell. It's a kind of chemically sort of smell, but you're not particularly familiar with it. It's not particularly strong either. It's quite faint.
You said he got gold teeth missing.
Yeah.
Has it like, I don't know? Has it been done with great violence? Is it?
Not.
I mean, I don't know
great
how
violence.
else you pull.
Not
Just carefully extracted teeth.
Yeah. They've been pulled by a skilled hand, not a dentist, but someone who quite often takes teeth from corpses. But can you give me that, either a spot hidden or a track roll as you are investigating this area?
Nope, failed.
Okay. There's definitely something untoward here going on.
Yeah.
If you've got, again, this is a mechanical thing. If you failed not very much, you can spend luck to succeed. Don't forget, or you can push your roll if your skill is high enough to warrant such a thing.
I will be looking around the area. He might be looking at the corpse itself, but I'll certainly be surveying the ground and the area and see if I can see any signs of anything that's been dropped by anybody or.
Andy, as the 3 of them have gone down into the mausoleum, Cooper would like to make his way up to it and just have one. He's never obviously seen this particular mausoleum, but he wants to go have a quick wander around, see if there's any inscriptions. He just wants to investigate the mausoleum a little bit closer.
Yeah. Can you give me a spot hidden, unless you are trying to use something specific to recognize something specific?
Yeah, no, that's fine. When I can pick up my dice off the floor. That's a 27, so that's a pass.
Perfect. I mean, the mausoleum itself is really nice. It's very tastefully done. A lot of money spent on it, but there's no
engravings or sort of to Thomas from his darling, anything like that. It's just a very plain mausoleum, is it?
I don't know. Would you have put anything like that upon it, Calpurnia?
The outside of the mausoleum, I think, would have been rather classically inspired. The inside would have had something along the lines of "in loving memory of Theodore, blah 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 blah," in the years from his loving wife Calpurnia, and then waiting to put her years on it.
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So pretty much just that. To this point, as you have moved closer to start moving around, Calpurnia and Mr. Anderson sort of emerge from the tomb again, and you more or less come face to face with Cooper. So I'll let you play that out as you wish.
Turning straight towards the opening, because I'm going to really want some fresh air after that.
Yeah, this is as you emerge up the steps and you sort of do this, you almost come face to face with Cooper. He hasn't descended down, but he's looking around the exterior of the mausoleum.
So I think this would be like one of the few times that Mr. Anderson wouldn't be sort of able to protect me or to put himself in front of me because I'd be in front,
Yeah.
wanting to get to the fresh air. So, can I help you?
My apologies, Madame Duvall, Cooper Trent. May I first offer my condolences on the anniversary of the sad loss of your husband's life. I apologize for meeting you in this way. It certainly wasn't my intention.
Did you know my husband?
I regret I did not. And we come from our pasts have some kind of connection. I, like yourself, am not a birth resident of the smoke. I too was raised in the southern frontier.
And that brings you to my husband's mausoleum on the anniversary of his death. For what reason?
This is Mr. Trent. He's been wanting to get a meeting with you for a while. I asked him to wait till after today. He's writing some kind of article. I didn't want to disturb you with it at this time, but obviously Mr. Trent thought it was most appropriate to turn up at the mausoleum to try and get an interview with you himself. Mr. Trent, can we do this at another time?
I certainly did not intend to have an interview. That was not my intention. Merely, I wish to gain a better understanding of the circumstances of your husband's passing and those who may or may not have been involved in that accident. And as Mr. Anderson has quite rightly indicated, I have been not writing an article, merely doing research for myself. As I say, we have a common past, and I wished to discuss that with you. But as Mr. Anderson said, this is not the appropriate time, and I apologize. But maybe we could share a cup of tea, and I could explain my background, and maybe we could talk of the old New World, as it was.
Mom, it's been a long day. It's been a long day, Mom. Maybe we should just go back to the house.
Mr. Trent, I do agree with Mr. Anderson. It has been a trying day for unexpected reasons. But I will take you up on your offer of a cup of tea because I must admit I don't think that I will be able to help you. I don't think that there is anything to be said beyond what's commonly known about my husband's accident. But I would be curious to hear why you are interested. So perhaps.
And I look
Mr.
forward to the
Anderson, you could
opportunity
coordinate this.
Indeed, and I look forward to that opportunity. But as your manservant has rightly indicated, it's been a long day. I will leave you be.
Thank you.
And I will make a sharp harp, as it were.
Mr. Trent, before you leave,
Mr. Anderson,
have you been here long?
I followed you, and I don't wish it to sound like I followed you. I was merely trying to understand.
Us?
Well, I have questions, but I won't go into them now. But yes, I've been following you from the residence of Madame Duvall to here, and I was standing over, and I'll kind of point in the direction where I was stood. As I say, I didn't want to intervene. However, when I saw you make your way into the mausoleum here, I decided to take a closer look. This is the first time I've seen Mr. Duvall's mausoleum.
Are you sure? The first time you've seen it?
Quite
You've
sure.
not been here before?
No.
Okay.
Why would you?
And you would be able to.
You seem to know my contacts and who I've been speaking to. So surely one of those must have told you if I'd have been here before.
That's fair. But of course, you may have just come here without my contacts finding out. Would you mind if we just waited and we'd just clarified that that you haven't visited before? It's just some business we need to clear up. It's probably best you don't leave right away, I would say, sir, just in case people need you to speak to you.
In relation to, may I ask?
Your circumstances as pertaining to this mausoleum over the past few days, let us say.
As I say, this is the first time I've been even this close to the mausoleum.
And I'm sure we'd clear it up in no time at all when the appropriate authorities arrive.
Authorities?
Yes, surely that doesn't worry you at all. Having only come to this mausoleum this one time.
And what is it you suspect I am?
I don't suspect you of anything, sir. You've only been here once, but I just wanted to clarify.
Has something happened?
Nothing to be concerned about. But if you just wait, I can... let me just see if I can get somebody to go and get the peelers.
Can we hear that? Can I hear this? Because I'm
you're downstairs. You're sort of sniffing the corpse.
Yeah.
I don't get to say that too often.
Don't get to do it too often these days.
But you can hear this conversation isn't whispered, so you can certainly hear it sort of coming down the stairs.
I was actually going to ask the same thing, so I'd have heard it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But by indication of summoning the peelers, you believe a crime has been committed?
Well, at the very least, you followed me from my house, which might not be a crime, but certainly indicates the possible intention of conducting one.
Merely to find out.
I must say, I'm not very comfortable with the thought of strangers following me around the city.
My intention was merely to discover, and I didn't want to discuss this here this evening, but it's a strange circumstance that your father has an accident in the New World, and then, as far as I'm aware, he has no ties to the smoke, and yet his body was brought back to the smoke and interned, I believe, into this mausoleum. It just seems somewhat strange if this was a ceremonial mausoleum, but from what I understand from the groundskeeper, his body is interned here.
You're all right, Mum. Is this chap bothering you?
I am a little confused. It's my husband, who is indeed interred here, but he has family roots here, which I do not, other than through him. So it made no sense for him to stay in the New World when I was going to come make a life for myself, if I can, in the smoke. So I brought him with me.
That's the answer that I needed. I didn't wish to bring this up at this stage. As I say, I wanted to have this conversation in better circumstances, but your man here seems to be implying that I have some kind of connection to a crime that has been committed.
Crime has been committed.
Well, I don't know. Has a crime been committed?
Why would it be?
It's none of my business at all, other than I seem to be being accused of carrying out some crime which I'm not aware of, and implying that I've been to this location previously in the last couple of days.
I'll look round at Mr. Anderson and catch his eye.
I believe, if you'll pardon me, that everyone can take a step back. There has been a crime committed. You, by your own admission, Mr. Trent, have been acting a bit suspiciously, but we have no reason to believe that you committed this crime. You do seem to stand at or towards the forefront of a long list of people who could have done it, but as you yourselves were saying, Sergeant Dobbs, Mr. Anderson, it could have been just a standard grave robbery that this man would have no reason to have committed. So we don't need to be throwing accusations around.
Yes, are you implying that Mr. Duvall's body has been removed from this mausoleum?
You told me it had not been removed.
It hasn't been removed, Mum.
Well, Madame Duvall just mentioned a grave robbery.
Yes, I'm unsure if you understand about the rudimentaries of grave robbing, but sometimes it is corpses and other times it is things that are on corpses.
So you're implying his belongings then have been taken. Somebody has broken in and they have been taken.
It would appear so, sir. And forgive me for jumping to conclusions. My forefront is not investigation. I am not one of the peelers. I do not belong to one of the many detective houses in this wonderful city of ours. But when a stranger turns up in a location where something strange has happened, I often think it's best to rule them out first before we move on to something else. But that's just my paranoia, I would imagine.
Mr. Ambrose, I think it is quite wise.
And
But
the
that does not
easiest...
mean, Mr. Trent, that we are accusing you specifically, just that you must admit you are a stranger turning up in a strange circumstance.
I would completely agree with you, Madame Duvall. And if it gives me the opportunity to explain my reasons, then I'd be more than happy to do that with yourself.
I would hope that Mom would allow the authorities to do the appropriate questioning, as they are the ones experienced in this. There is due process and law that we should follow. Just to rule you out, of course, sir. As you've bountifully said, you've done nothing wrong. So, having done nothing wrong, there should be nothing wrong with us involving the appropriate authorities.
Not at all. I would completely agree with that course of action.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your consult.
And to show good faith, if Mom is prepared, we could take you to the house and we could have them come there to talk to you.
Yes.
That is perfectly acceptable.
Lovely.
Mr. Anderson, I think that I will retire to my rooms for an hour or so to rest. But if you would make arrangements for everyone else to be greeted downstairs, I believe that would be. It would be better to get this behind us at this point, I think.
Of course, Mom.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sergeant Dobbs?
Is there anything you want to add to that, Sergeant Dobbs?
No.
Okay.
No,
So,
I'll go along with that.
if we are all agreed, we'll bring to a close this scene and we will open it back up at the Duvall residence. The Duvall residence is in the Breeze, I believe. It is a very nice, or one of the nicest districts of the Smoke, because it's raised on a hill. It doesn't get as smoggy, substantially less pollution, and there is always a gentle wind that is blowing across the hill to keep that smog at bay. Of course, your residence, I'm assuming you brought property, Miss Duvall, when you returned here. What kind of property did you buy?
It is modest for someone of my means. It houses myself and Mr. Anderson, obviously separately. But I would not want to live completely on my own. Sergeant Dobbs, where do you live?
Well, I think Sergeant Dobbs has been sent to keep an eye on you by the House of Brass. So,
don't you live in the hut on the grounds?
Sorry, say again. Sorry.
Don't you live in your hut on the grounds?
Probably that sounds ideal.
Okay, so
and we've probably got a small waiting staff as well, Andy. Nothing huge because it wouldn't make sense. But when we get to the house, I'd like to send one of the junior members of staff to the horologists because I want to find out about what has happened to the watch.
okay.
To the guild.
I mean, this is complex. I mean, without doubt, Jeremiah Brass purchased it from the horologists, and it is most definitely one of their best works. So I'm not entirely sure what information you will glean from that conversation other than the Jeremiah Brass brought it. It's highly unlikely that anybody will try and sell it back to the horologists, but you send that serving member back to do that.
Less looking for what. I don't expect them to sell it to the horologists.
Yeah.
But I expect the horologist to find out as soon as it attempts to be sold or whether it's seen somewhere, because that's their that's their thing, isn't it?
Well,
So
they make watches. This is the city of the smoke. There are ways and means to everything, and as proven, when you call the peelers, they take down your information. But it's somewhat disappointing. This may be the first time that you've really had cause to call the peelers in. They're relatively professional. They ask all of the right questions, certainly of you, Mr. Trent, and of you, Mr. Anderson. But you certainly are left with a feeling of, well, that's them ticking the boxes, and pretty much this happens an awful lot in the smoke. People breaking into graves, taking grave goods. You don't think you're going to get much recourse from them, but it is noted down. There is a crime incident number, but beyond that, it's like, if you want to get to the bottom of this, you're going to have to do it yourselves.
It might be difficult to kind of. We don't know how long ago this was done, do we?
Your gut feeling, looking at you're a skilled tracker, whilst you can pick tracks up because people went down there. Yeah. You think this is in recent times, maybe as recent as a couple of days ago, just as Mr. Anderson said. You don't get the impression this was done sort of weeks or months ago.
It had to be a couple of days because of the preparation that I'd have put in order. I'd have gone and checked things. Right, so everything would have been in order a couple of days ago.
Absolutely.
Because I would want everything to be perfect for her, right?
Sometime within a couple of days. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to be, impossible to track somebody down from, what we've got at the minute.
It's almost. Sorry, yeah. I was going to say it's almost an impossible situation. What is you going to suggest, Tommy?
That we're looking to buy. We're looking to purchase something that's gone missing. Put an advert in the Times.
Now we just reach out to some of the other guilds.
Put
some information out there though that we're looking to buy, but keep it distant from us. Or from Mum.
Mr. Trent, you've spent 5 years in the smoke, haven't you? And I believe the Duvalls is only one of the stories that you've worked on in that time. When you've really wanted to find out some information, it's difficult, it's pricey, but of course it's the Beggars Guild that you could do with having a conversation to, and you probably have had conversations with them in the past. You by far don't have the means to be able to afford this yourself, but certainly you've got the contacts, provided someone else can have the means.
Those in the gem cutters, Andy? Would they be another? I mean, there it says that they are rumoured to be the guild contact if you need something special acquiring.
Yes.
So maybe through those as well, yeah?
Indeed, but do any of you have contacts with the jewelers of the city?
I think there's a good reason. I think at the beginning I said I'd try to get a lot of the guilds on side. There's obvious money with Mom at the moment. So I'd have been trying to make inroads with quite a few different things just so that we could get the best of what she required. So
Well, it's good to have open conversations with the guilds, but this is the smoke. Conversations are not the currency. It's bizarre, but currency is the currency in the smoke.
One that might help is that when I arrived in the smoke, I had some old jewelry from my family because my family had quite a bit of means themselves. But the jewelry wasn't precious to me. It wasn't like family heirlooms. And it was very, very much of the style of the frontier of the New World. And so I wanted to have the gems taken out and reset into something more fashionable. Again, not for the sake of fashion, but just for the sake of learning how to live in an urban world. So I probably would have asked Mr. Anderson to go to the jewelers and have some pretty honking gems put into some pretty fashionable pieces. So that might have provided an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I think in terms of the Beggars Guild, Andy, like you say, I probably can't afford to ask the questions, but I could sort of drop a hint that maybe I'm looking for some information in terms of, I'm assuming that the items probably weren't of smoke design. They were probably of New World design. Would that be fair to say? So maybe something that sticks out quite, is somebody trying to fence or hock something recently, and if somebody did come forward, I might have a client who would be willing to pay for that information.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. As you sit and look around, this is kind of their problem, not yours. And you're in this house, this very, very expensive looking house. They could certainly afford the price the beggars would ask if you just wanted to procure information.
Yeah, and from Cooper's perspective, I think he's trying to find a way in, as it were.
Absolutely. So I don't know if that's something that you want to suggest to the company that you're in at the moment.
I may have. I've only been a resident of the Smoke for about 5 years, but I know there are some associations that like to inhabit the mists and the darker places of this town, and I have in terms sought out information. I regret my resources certainly aren't equivalent to obtaining this information, but I may be able to put you in contact with the right individuals who may be able to investigate whether some items. I believe your husband, like you say, has family who are of the smoke, but yourself and your husband were New Worlders, so I would assume that any items on his person were of design that may not localize to the smoke. Therefore, it might be easier for someone who was looking to fence or hawk these items. Maybe the people I'm referring to may have some information that they could provide.
Make a very good point, Mr. Trent. Certainly, the ring that is missing would be of that New World design. However, the watch is most definitely smoke design. That was a present from the House of Brass. I remember when you gave it to him, Sergeant Dobbs, on behalf of the House of Brass. He was very proud of it. He showed it to us all. Let's take a good look at it before he put it on his wrist, right?
But in the same vein, if it was House of Brass, my understanding is their manufacturing techniques are quite superb. Something of this design would not be simple to, shall we say, pass on. Exactly.
So these two pieces together, if they were taken by the same thing, that's a great start.
Indeed.
What was the watch like, Andy?
I mean, it was a typical sort of pocket watch. When I say typical, it was very high end, very ornate, sort of a glass frontage, so you could see all of the cogs and gears kind of moving around. It was a wonderment, probably wasn't manufactured by the House of Brass, but was purchased by the House of Brass from the horologists. There was nothing one would say unusual about it, but certainly it was a very expensive, a gift that makes a statement.
Absolutely.
So would be easily identifiable and quite difficult to pass on. But that said, things are not that difficult to pass on if you know the right people in the smoke. It's just knowing what you're doing and how to do it. So time is precious, and the peelers are going to investigate, but the amount of time they take, it doesn't sit well with you, really.
Do you want to put a reward out for it?
I think we take up Mr. Trent on his offer first. I think we go through that route, and then if we need to, we put out a reward. Would be my advice. But when Mom comes downstairs, she can say what she would like to do.
I mean, that is the perfect entrance for you, Mr. As you have had your repose and you've come downstairs refreshed.
Mom, you've spoken to the peelers, and they seem to have collaborated on Mr. Trent's story. So, and we've raised the appropriate case, but I don't think they're going to operate at the speed that we want them to. So, if we have any hope of returning Sir's goods, we may need to go down other avenues. And it seems Mr. Trent has some contacts that may be of use to us.
Less formal.
I was just going to say that the house, just to finish describing the house, it's not the most impressive or the largest, but Calpurnia really wanted it because it has a turret on top so that she can get the most of the breeze and the most view of any greenery that there is. And so she's been up there trying to rest, but not succeeding very well, and worrying and what Mr. Trent was saying, preying on her mind. So when she comes down, she's actually got a bit of a sense of purpose. So she hears what Mr. Anderson has to say and says, so who are these people that we're reaching out to?
Well, Madame Duvall, they're the undesirables of this city. They're people that you wouldn't want to know on a one-to-one basis. But unfortunately, in circumstances like these are the people that know other, shall we say, not very nice people. And if someone is looking to sell your late husband's items, the chances are that one of the people that I may know somebody else, and they may know somebody else. And if the right amount of currency is placed in their palm, that information may pass its way to ourselves and to yourselves. And we may be able to discover who has these items, and then, as Mr. Anderson was saying, maybe offer some kind of reward in the right circles for its return.
And how much of this would be taken by you?
I wouldn't need any remuneration for myself. This is, I feel obligated to help you in any way that I can. And all I would ask is what's already been agreed, that we may have a conversation at some point in the future about our common past, so that I may understand the circumstances around your late husband's passing and those that may or may not have been involved in that passing. I require no financial remuneration.
I was spending some time upstairs thinking about how interesting it is that you are interested in how he died, and I think personally that That is worth my time. This approach to returning my late husband's goods. You both agree with this?
It's
Yep.
tasteful, but it appears to be the only option we have, ma'am, unfortunately.
It's how these things tend to go.
I will take your word for it.
If it gave more reassurance to yourself, Madame Duvall, I would be happy to take along either one or both of your colleagues here and involve them in the conversation so that it is completely above board and that my intentions are completely transparent.
I'll go with him.
Thank you, Sarge. Well, if you want to know what the ring looks like, I take off my wedding ring, which I currently can't, and I say it was a larger version of this.
Oh
And
yeah, thank you very much. I'll take a look at it. And hand it back to you.
It's a stylized version of two snakes intertwined. You don't really see their heads or their tails, but you know from the patterns on their backs that they're the same rattlesnakes.
It's quite a... What's the word I'm looking for? It's
Distinctive.
exactly, yes, distinctive.
Really something you recognize, Mr. Trent.
No, I meant in the sense if someone was trying to fence this item, it would
Yes.
be easy to describe and follow a trail, as it were.
Indeed.
I
mean, clearly I never intended to see it again, but I do not want it in someone else's hands.
Understandable.
This might be a difficult sell, but can you give me an education roll, Mr. Trent?
Ask me that.
It's
yeah.
not an ability. It's not a skill. It's a ability.
I mean, my education is actually 90. He doesn't come across as very well educated,
No,
but
this is street smarts. This is
that's a 505.
yeah, so that's an extreme success. This might be a hard sell to the rest of them, but you're probably going to have to see the head of the Beggars Guild, Uncle Pockets. You've met him a couple of times, and he doesn't like to be seen as not worth people's time. And if you were acting on behalf of Madame Duvall, if you are to get the best out of him, you really should take her with you.
Okay.
I mean, he's the head of the guild, basically. There's
I suppose my only concern would be would exposing Madame Duvall to someone of that
she's already
level.
exposed. He's the head of the Beggars Guild.
Okay, but I suppose what I'm asking is, does this expose her to more physical risk?
No, not at all. Not if you're there to do business. If you're there to mess him about, if you're there, you're more at physical risk to go there without her than.
Okay. In that case, then I guess I'll have to change my tact and then come back and say the contact I am thinking of. Again, both of your gentlemen friends here would be more than willing to. I'd be more than happy to take them along. However, for the purpose of transparency and sincerity, I believe he's going to want to meet yourself, Madame Duvall.
Mom, this is the politics of the city we talk about.
Oh,
They're going to want to speak to you directly.
interesting.
However, Mr. Trent's introduction is what is required for us to be able to speak, so maybe we should all go.
I certainly wouldn't want to put you in harm's way. And if I'm being completely frank, if I didn't turn up with you, I don't think the sincerity would be there, and I think I'd be putting myself in more physical harm. So if you were willing to accompany us, I think that makes me a lot safer, as well as you. And I think we'll get a better result following this course of action.
Strange to think that somebody such as myself could make somebody such as yourself in a more secure position, but I'm I'm willing to go along with this if this is the best course of action. Yes.
I thank you. Andy, would I need to set this up with a sort of intermediary, or would I just go to where the guild is and knock on the door?
It's always polite, but with the Beggars Guild, without a doubt, it's not going to take very long to do. All you would.
So if I just almost dropped a note to say, I want to talk about this, but I need to speak to Pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be very rapid, and someone of the status of Madame Duvall, oh, most definitely, he's going to want to meet, sort of more or less straight away. So
Okay.
much so, if that is what your intentions are as a group, we can say that has happened, and we can bring this scene to a close and open it up as you are about to meet for the very first time for some of you, Uncle Pockets. And is everybody okay with that?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So the current location of the base for the Beggars Guild is one of the towers of Tower Bridge. A statement. It is a tower. It is tall. It looks over the splendour, the squalor, all areas, and it's easy enough to see if trouble is coming, and also to keep an eye on the smoke as a whole. And this is where you are guided to. It's not a sort of secret location. You are not blindfolded as you cross this eminently magnificent structure to one of the bridges and are led upstairs. As you enter the top floor of this, there are a number of sort of open sort of windows. The glass is not nearly as magnificent as it looked down below. One of the walls is covered with multiple pigeon lofts, nigh on 100 of them in total. And of course, where there are pigeon lofts, there are pigeons, and where there are pigeons, there are molting feathers and a terrible smell. There are a number of beggars here, kind of looking keenly, but Uncle Pockets is also here, a man of indeterminable age, gangly, unshaven, greasy hair hidden by a battered top hat. His clothes just don't seem to fit him. His trousers too short, showing his odd matching boots and lower legs. His patched coat far too big, dragging on the floor with only his fingertips visible. He carries a large stick, the top of which has obviously been rounded and fire hardened, and so the stories say he's always in the company of a mange-ridden bulldog who goes by the name Spike. He kind of stands up and raises his top hat and bows to you, Madame. Well, Trent.
Uncle Pockets. It's a long time since we've been. Firstly, may I introduce Madame Calpurnia Duvall. Madame Duvall, Uncle Pockets.
He rubs his hands down, only which some of sort of comes out, kind of moves across to you. It is an honour. I've heard so much, and he kind of extends a hand to you.
Tiny little surprised raise of the eyebrows, but quickly recover myself and hold out my hand.
Do you hold him for him to kiss it, or for
him to you know, do the little shake, do the little kiss, whatever is he's supposed to do.
He does. He kind of goes down and he gently kisses. It's not a horrible slurping kind of hideous thing that you might have expected. It's actually very respectful, and he kind of sort of pays attention to you.
I give them a little bow.
It is indeed an absolute honour. No, we don't often. No, I'm lying. Obviously, people come here because they want to know things, and everybody wants to know things, whether they've got money or not. Please sit down. There's kind of broken crates. There's no real sort of chairs here.
I take off my jacket and put my jacket over a broken crate, and so there's somewhere for Miss Duvall to sit down.
So,
Do you want to listen?
time is indeed money. What is it that you are interested in? Your wealth speaks for you.
Well, it might do, but in this case, it is more a concern of the heart, to be honest. I find it difficult to believe that I'm saying these words, but my late husband's grave was desecrated, and his belongings were taken, and we were hoping that you and your contacts, I believe Mr. Trent was saying, might be able to help us find them.
I mean, firstly, apologies on behalf of the smoke. What is this city coming to? Eh? I mean, terrible news. But yes.
I mean, Madame Duvall, if I may.
Yes.
I'm sure our friend here, Uncle Pockets, he merely likes to ask the question, although he already knows the answer. I'm sure that's the case, isn't it, Uncle Pockets? You know why we're here, and you know the information we're looking for. You just like to hear it from the victim's mouth first, don't you?
Well, it is important to know what people truly want. At that moment, a couple of pigeons sort of fly in, and suddenly this entire room is filled with sort of squawking and feathers, and he kind of pushes them back, and they all begin to sort of settle down again. It is a good way to get messages around the city. In fact, he sort of pulls one of the pieces of paper that are tied round the legs. This is what I've been waiting for. He kind of unfolds it. So if the price is agreed, and this is Call of Cthulhu, you use your credit rating. It's an appropriate amount that you're happy to pay, and you can most definitely afford it. He is in the business of information, so therefore you know that the beggars, when they sell information, they sell the right information, otherwise they would be discredited. So there are a couple of brothers that operate out of the squalor. They are grave robbers, body snatchers and the like, and their turf is Highgate. I would put the money that you are paying me so generously on the line to say it's them. I can give you their names, and I can tell you where they normally reside. Is that sufficient enough?
May I speak frankly?
Indeed.
I'm simply curious if you know of two brothers who regularly rob Highgate Cemetery. How have they not been caught, and why, if they've not been caught, is there not competition?
There's always competition. I haven't said it's currently their turf. I have a feeling that, within the next few hours, it might not be their turf anymore. And he kind of smiles. Things in the smoke are fluid, very fluid, always changing. This is why they call us the beggars. They call us one of the low guilds, like the rat. I mean, the ratters. Yeah, I mean they clean the sewers and the rat run, but we're not a low guild. We have our finger on the pulse of this city. We know what's going on to a degree.
We've already outdone the peelers by
Oh,
running rings around them
the peelers,
tenfold.
they are in the pay of the mercantile houses, whatever house is paying their wages this week, they will duck and sway. You don't honestly think you ask them to do their job, they don't report it back to their sergeant, it goes to their captain and their commandant, and then up to the mercantile houses whether they should act upon it. And even then, I mean, they barely show their faces down in the squalor, perhaps for good reason.
Surely, if I am of the position that you acknowledge so kindly, and I have strong connections with the Brass family, then surely the peelers would be working eventually for the Brasses and therefore for me. I'm still very flummoxed. Mr.
Well,
Anderson.
There are many mercantile houses, and not all of them are pulling in the right direction. But please, maybe, Mr. Anderson, you wish to give me a lesson on my city.
Not at all. Not at all.
The ignorance is on my part entirely.
One should always respect the authority of the area, one believes.
Very wise.
One question for you, Uncle Pockets.
Is this on the payroll as well?
It is connected. Are they there now?
Well,
these thieves?
They were there. He kind of looks at it. Well, one of them has been seen anyway. The location that you need to go to is the Three Valves. I don't have any magic. I have an awful lot of bodies out there looking, and an even more amount of pigeons.
Then I think our business here is probably done, madam.
Indeed. It has been an honour and a pleasure, and I appreciate you making the effort to come and see me.
Appreciate your time, Uncle Pockets.
There are far too people that want the information but can't be, excuse my language, asked to come and get it themselves. That puts me in a bad mood.
Your language is excused. It's very common in the New World.
No, I've heard about that. Sounds a terrible place. He comes forward and again gently kisses your hand. Do you need one of my lads to guide you to the Three Valves? The squalor is indeed a labyrinth, a maze of alleys and the like. It is up to you, free of charge, of course.
Mom?
Do you know your way around? Either of you in that area?
I've had a few encounters, but not enough to say that I could get us there directly. This seems as it's part of the bundle that you've paid for, it may make sense for them to do it for you.
Then we will happily take you up on your offer. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm not sure whether I actually mentioned, but the names of the brothers are Crowley. That's C-R-O-W-L-E. And it's Richard and Leonard, but they are most known as Leo and Dick. Okay, one of them has been seen in the Three Valves, say within the last 30 minutes.
Let's go.
Okay, so we bring a close
Thank
to
you,
this.
Mr. Pockets. It's been a pleasure.
Indeed, he offers you his hand.
I shake it.
Yeah.
And nod and bow, slightly bow.
He seems very professional for what he does. You know,
he's a chief. He's a chief. He's the chief of his clan, tribe, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Guild, I think, is the word he says. We're a guild. I get very annoyed when people don't think we're a guild. Low guild, he says. Flo, one of the beggars, jumps up and she says, "I'll take you, ma'am." And she sort of runs down the tower stairs. We bring this scene to a close as you make your way from Tower Bridge into the poorer parts of the smoke.
Assuming, Mom, I can't convince you to return to the house. I've seen that look in your face before. You seem determined this evening.
This has advanced much farther than I thought it would, and I'm giving Mr. Trent, quite a long look, and looking down at Flo. I don't think I can let this one go. Not yet.
Didn't think so, madam.
Certainly not want to place any disparaging remarks, but where we're going, I completely respect your decision to accompany us. However, I believe your attire may be somewhat outwardly, how shall I put this, overtly non-discreet.
Have you looked in the mirror, lad? You don't exactly look like a local.
I would completely agree. However, the good lady's clothes are somewhat cleaner than my own, and just that degree would let me blend in a little bit more. I mean, I'm certainly not insinuating you need to roll around on the ground. That'd be the last thing I wish to say.
I could get away looking like a soldier back on leave. You three look like...
There are many.
The cutest way of speaking, Mr. Trent, is well understood. Perhaps there would be a shop where I could purchase something more appropriate to wear.
Flo says, "Well, you'll be safe with me, ma'am." As this little 6-year-old girl with no weight on her at all sort of looks up and smiles. She's missing like 2 front teeth. "It's fine. You're with me. I'm a beggar, don't you know? It won't trouble us."
And
I stand corrected.
I have taken care, because I knew that we would be going out of the breeze, to wear a simpler frock. Yes.
Absolutely. So we, as I close the scene here, and she certainly knows her way. She's like a mouse moving through one of the mazes that they very cleverly have learnt, knowing every sort of alley and gunnel to go through. And it's eye-opening if you have never been here before. The Squalor has a well-deserved reputation for severe poverty and overcrowding. It's a labyrinth of alleys and gunnels. The buildings built so close to each other they almost block out the sky. At night there is little to no lighting on the streets, and together with the smog, it's very easy to get lost. Small havens of light can be found in here, though. Bustling public houses scattered throughout. One of these is your destination, the 3 Valves. You arrive and there's not full doors on it. It's almost like back in the New World. They've not bothered with full doors. There is saloon doors on it. And you enter. Muddy floor, grimy glass sort of in the window. There is split into a snug and a bar. The bar is full of tobacco smoke and is full there is an old timer playing the piano with a couple of locals singing a popular squalor song, Knobs on Knobs. Perhaps not the best welcome. You perhaps feel out of place, but Flo sort of quickly looks round. There he is, and kind of points to a small sort of snug where you see an individual sitting there, and he's hugging what appears to be a point of black tar, as they call it. It's kind of a thick stout, but he's white and physically shaking. He does not look in a good state. It's really obvious to you all.
What are the exits from this place?
Well, it looks like there's only this main one, and then probably a door behind the bar.
Okay, so I ask my good friend the sergeant to stand by the bar in case he makes a bolt for that.
Yep.
And I ask our very new friend to stand at the front door in case he makes a bolt for there.
Obliged, certainly.
And then I step forward
Mhm.
and pull a seat out for Mom, and I say to him, introducing Madame Duvall.
He's just kind of shaking at the moment. What? What? Who are you? Who are you? What?
I'm
Yeah.
Calpurnia Duvall. Were you not expecting us? Are you all right, sir?
No, I am not okay. I've not had the best of days, thank you very much.
Flo? Flo, what's going on? Who is this? What?
This is the person you want to see, but they haven't obviously sent a message to the
Okay.
person that has stolen your husband's goods, because that is a little bit of a warning not to be there. So
Are
he's
you,
certainly not expecting you.
Is this Leo or Richard? Do we know?
This is Leo. Flo has told you.
Leo, I assume.
Yeah. It is. What do you? I'm not available at the moment. I'm not available.
I was hopeful that the name, Mr. Bell's name, would spark something in you, but it's now obvious that you just steal from any old tomb at any old time.
Can you give me intimidation, I suppose? Some kind of social fast talk, charm,
Persuade?
persuasion. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Let's give that one a go then, shall we? 18, which is a hard success, but I'll spend 5 luck on it to make it an extreme success.
Okay, impressive. He breaks down. He just goes, no.
Hello?
Look, whatever you want. Sorry. Well, I mean, look, we're hungry down here. But no, what? That was your husband's too. And he starts shaking again, very heavily. But you have broken him now. You can ask him any questions. He's traumatized. He's in a state. He's speaking quite a lot of nonsense. It's fairly obvious to you, Tommy, and to you, Cooper, that he's not making a runner for it, and you could easily join should you wish to. It is up to you.
I'm gonna, at the bar, if I may,
Mhm.
I'm gonna get a pint for myself and a large brandy or some horrible rotgut shit for which I'm going to take over for young Leo, because he looks like a chap who needs to, a bit of something a bit stiffer, just to give him a bit of fortitude.
Okay. He sort of shakes. He more than happy to take it from you, and he starts sipping it. But yeah, he's open to, he's babbling, but you can, amongst that babble, try and get some pertinent points out there should you wish to, with that persuade success.
Yeah, so I think the things I'm going to try and hit on are: does he still have the goods that they stole, and
No.
what has
just-
shaken him so much?
Let's just let the lad speak. He's obviously
Yeah.
very
No.
shaken up. He's very. Let's just let him be. Let him have his drink, and we're just going to let him talk because he's obviously had a very bad experience.
The babble does indeed come out, and he's shaking, drinking, and he basically says, "Look,
There's a good lad.
we were going about our business. Yeah, you obviously know what our business. We broke into a mausoleum.
Yeah, but everybody has to survive.
It's not the first time that we've done it. It's certainly going to be the last, though. We couldn't believe our eyes, though. We struck it rich, a watch, a ring, couple of teeth. It was, we were made.
His teeth?
Yeah, his teeth. There was a couple of gold teeth. Yeah.
Sorry, Mum. We didn't really want to tell you
that.
Were you tipped off? Were you told about this? There was rich pickings?
No, this is what we do. No, I mean, there's three of us. There's me, there's Dick, and there's Wilbur. Yeah, we're a team.
Who's Wilbur? Dick's your brother, isn't he?
Yeah, Dick's my brother. There's me, and there's Wilbur Monaghan. But I'll come to him in a minute. I tell you. Well, it was my brother. You see, he was taking the items, and then it was all a blur. Something happened. The lantern got knocked over. The lights went out. I screamed, and well, the rest. It was.
In your own time, lad. In your own time. No pressure.
Yeah. Well, by the time we got the light back on, Dick was on the floor unconscious. I picked him up. Wilbur grabbed the goods, and we fled. As I looked back, though, I saw the corpse. Never seen anything like that in my life. All withered. It wasn't like that when we started. It was beyond belief. I have no idea.
Wait, Leo. Wait, you saw the corpse as you were leaving?
No, I saw the corpse before, but
in the casket.
Yes.
But when the lights came, when you were escaping.
Yes. So we broke in. We removed the top of the casket. We saw the corpse. Everything was okay. We saw the watch, the teeth, the ring. We were overjoyed. Dick bent down.
Animals.
The corpse was there. It was in a degree of decay. Nothing like we haven't seen before, many times before. But then that's when things happened. I wasn't looking. It went crazy. Dick screamed. By the time I got the light back on, he was on the floor unconscious. I picked him up. But when I looked back, that corpse was all shriveled and withered, not like when we first got in there. Something happened.
How long was the lights out, lad?
Something happened. The lights went out and you screamed, and that sent you into some sort of terror. You realize you are talking about my husband's dead body. How could you possibly? I don't care what happened afterwards. You're making it up. None of this can possibly be true. Mr. Anderson, Sergeant Dobbs, we can't be listening to a word of this. This is insane.
Look, I can prove it to you, because that's not where it stops, okay? Don't call me a liar. Look, here's the thing. It doesn't stop there. We got back to our gaff, right? Dick started to come round, but he was talking in a funny voice. He demanded the ring and watch, saying they were his. Wilbur, the stubborn-headed pudding, said it was equal shares, and that's that's when it happened. Dick started oozing black stuff. He reached for Will, and something unspeakable happened. I must have passed out. When I came round, Dick was gone, but Will, I ain't seen anything like that. His eyes were all white looking. And if you don't believe me, I can take you back to the gaff and you can have a look yourself. That's all I've got to say.
All right, lad.
Fine.
Let's go and take a look.
Take me.
He downs his drink, slams it down, and stands up.
I think there's a bit of the poppy about him, Mom. Let's just go with him. This is obviously some kind of hallucination. He's obviously been in one of the dens around here. Let's go and get the goods and let's go and get
no goods. The goods are gone. That's what I said. My own brother said it was his, no equal shares. And then that's when the thing happened. Come on, I'll take you to the gaff. And he tries to leave. He's in a bad state.
I grab Mr. Trent and I say, all right, you had questions that had no basis in anything sensible, and now we have a man talking absolute nonsense, and once again you seem to be the link. Tell me what you are asking me. What do you know? What do you think? What are you researching?
The House of Brass.
What does it have to do with anything with my husband's teeth?
Your husband's teeth? I have no idea, ma'am. However, you've lost somebody that you loved. I also lost somebody I loved, and both instances involved the House of Brass. When I heard that you were coming to the smoke, that was nothing of the out of the ordinary. However, when I started to learn about the accident and the strange, shall we say, circumstances of your husband's demise, it struck a chord with me in my own past. I lost my sister. I wasn't there. And when I returned home, I found out that she had passed on and that our home and our lands had been acquired by the Brass family. The House of Brass had started a mining operation, not just on my home and my lands, but the residents of Matthews Crossing, where I lived. So I began to investigate the circumstances of not just your husband's passing, but also trying to find out if there was any coincidence or link between the circumstances surrounding your loss and my loss. And that's what brought us together. This is a completely byproduct. This gentleman here, who I'm afraid, Mr. Anderson, whilst I'm not a professional in the ways of the mind, this is not a drug or alcohol infused instance. This man is clearly disturbed, mentally disturbed, and requires professional help, in my layman's opinion. But I've seen enough of things like this that it makes hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
He says,
presumably we're walking along while they're talking.
I don't know if you...
Are we?
I would assume we're following, yeah.
I think we're walking along.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm walking right next to Leo.
Yeah.
And just talking quietly to him and saying, all right, lad, we're going to, there's not going to be any comeback from this. Don't worry about it. I'm just, talking very quietly in a nice voice. Nothing threatening. Just trying to bring him down a little bit. Just trying to make him feel safe.
Have you got anything?
Even though something bad's happened, we know something's bad's happened. We're going to look at it and we're going to try and help.
can you give me a psychology or psychotherapy roll, please?
I will give you a psychology roll.
Thank you
So
very
I've got
much.
a smattering of that business.
You never know in Cthulhu.
Well, it's for when I'm dealing with people out in the hills and the mountains. And I have failed
Okay.
by
But
quite a lot.
it's okay. You can't read his mind, but you've kind of seen similar things before. He's
It
definitely
looks like a young
suffering
swaddy
from
who's
trauma. Absolutely.
Yeah. looks like a young lad who's been through it.
And because you're taking the time to do it, even though you weren't successful, he kind of leans forward and says, "You know what? That one with you, that's kind of like the voice my brother was using." I mean, it was his voice, but it was that accent.
Ah, you mean Mr. Trent?
Yeah.
The chap in the... And I point.
you suddenly pointed down.
To me, it's there. He's there. He's there.
Yeah.
He's there to me.
So, yeah, he confines that into you, but it's not particularly far. You have local pubs. The Three Valves is there local. Sort of moments later, you're making your way up to an upstairs. So it's not even. It's like a couple of rooms really. It's not at all a particularly luxurious place whatsoever. The door itself isn't even locked. You have to move past people on the stairs and everything else. I fled, he says before he opens the door. I left poor Will in here. And he pushes the door open and goes inside. And I mean, it's dark inside, very dark. I don't suppose any of you have brought any lights. He moves across and there's a small candle, and he gets out a book of matches, still trembling, and you can kind of see that he's trying to get one kind of lit. That's going to take a time unless any of you want to light the candle for him.
Yeah, I'll light the candle.
Yeah, you just come across and the candle lights and a small area of light, and there's 100% a body in this room. Maybe a day or so old.
I take the candle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to carrying candles for taking things up to Mom, so it's easy enough for me to
Yeah.
take it in the holder. And I'm walking around the room, so I'm trying to see if I can see any signs of a scuffle that he's described, or if there's anything on the floor that might have been dropped.
No rolls. It's exactly as he did it. This corpse is face down at the moment, but as you move across with the light, you hear squeaks. There's a number of rats scutter away, obviously making use of this meat on the floor.
And other than this edible feast for our rodent friends on the floor, is there anything else out of place that?
No, it looks very much. There's probably some grave hall here, quite open on a low table. Bits and pieces they've perhaps not fenced yet, but there's no sign of the ring and the watch and even the teeth. He says, "Don't look at his face. It's horrible."
Yeah, all right, let's take a look at his face.
Okay, and you roll him over, and it is indeed disturbing as you see that either his eyeballs have rolled completely back, and as you kind of look at it closer, you realise that's not the case. His entire eye has been bleached white, sort of thing, really. It's a little traumatizing. If you're paying attention, give us another sanity roll. You're a hardened man, and you were told about
I have
it.
passed my sanity roll.
So again, no penalty. You're all doing too well at the moment. But
do you the rest of us to roll as well?
Only if it's dark in here. There's the candle down. There's only Tommy that's really paying attention at the moment. If you're going to examine it, yes, you will.
Yeah.
If you're staying away, you're okay.
I'm
actually
down
I'd
on
be
my
sort of
haunches
batting-
and I've turned him over. You know, I'm down on one knee and I've rolled him over, so I'm down on the floor, like next to him, looking at him.
And I'd be standing sort of batting away rats with my stick, but I might catch it out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah,
Because
well, it
I am
sounds like
curious about what's going on.
you want to roll a sanity roll. Go for it. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Don't
Jump
get me wrong.
scare, camera pans into
Yeah.
the
83.
83.
That sounds
high.
traumatizing.
That sounds like a fail to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
say it anyway. It's a fail. Who knows?
So you lose 1 sanity point, which is
Okay.
and it's a shock to see this, especially in this way. This is very, very unusual. And this decaying body. It seems that everything he has told you about this place is certainly true. Tommy,
Yes.
can you give me a spot hidden? I don't think there's a smell skill, is there?
No, and I failed that as
Okay,
well.
that's good. You're failing
I'm
all
on
the
fire
critical
tonight.
ones. You are failing
On
all the
fire.
critical ones. Everybody else can give me a spot hidden as well, but it might not be as relevant because you would perhaps be aware of it.
Does he smell like
hard
the other guy?
success?
Sorry? Hard success. Okay.
Hard success.
A monstrous fail.
Okay, no worries.
And I got a standard success, Andy.
Yeah, okay, so both of you can smell something in the air. It's not coming from the body. You're close to the body and you can smell it. That smells like a body should rotting. But the two of you can smell kind of an oily smell. Very faint in the air. It's not lamp oil.
Any idea which direction the smell's coming from or not?
Well, no, it's just in the general.
In the room.
Yeah.
In the room in general.
It's a residue of what was here.
Okay.
As opposed to
Subject to the pigeons and the dust they were kicking up, and my nose is blocked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is certainly something lingering on the what air there is down here.
Yes, it's because at first I thought it was maybe grease, cooking grease, but
yes, it's not though, is it? It's it's something very unfamiliar, but somewhat familiar. If that sounds like a contradiction, I'm sure it is, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I don't know what they're on about.
The more I think about it, Andy,
yeah,
does this smell? Have I smelled anything like this before? Like maybe when we were in the mining area,
because it's not ore mining that was going on.
No.
It was drilling for
oil.
And yes, it's kind of got that smell.
So I'll say to the sergeant, just smell again. Remember the mine. Can you smell that in the air?
I moved my head away from the body.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm having a right good
probably
close.
going to help you. Give us a sniff roll.
I've rolled 09.
That's good. 09.
Which must be if that was a spot hidden. That's some sort of that's a very, very good success.
Okay.
Extreme.
Yeah.
So
you can smell it now too. Now you're away from the rotting body, and
oil.
It's like crude oil, the kind of stuff that comes from the southern states, black gold as they call it. But it's very faint. It's not identical.
Like tar type smell of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so I say like tar.
It's also the smell that you picked up from Theodore Duvall's body.
Sergeant.
Mr. Duvall was possessed of a similar smell.
What's Leo doing at the moment?
Good
He's
question.
rocking backwards and forwards. He's just. I told you, he's very traumatized.
Are there any signs of injury on this body?
Other than the white eyes,
The eyes.
no.
There doesn't seem to be any kind of. Yeah, all right.
And this is Dick, the body Dick, right?
Yeah.
No. This is
It's
Will's
Wilbur.
body. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay. So where did Richard go? Leonard.
I don't know. As I said, you weren't listening. You didn't believe me. You weren't
Let me rephrase it. Where would Richard go, Leonard?
I don't know. Like I said, we got back here. He started to come around, but he started talking in a funny voice, and he kind of points his finger directly now at Mr. Trent. I like him, not his voice, but the way that he talks.
The accent.
Yes. He demanded the ring and the watch, saying they were his. Wilbur here, as I said, he's stubborn-headed, and he said it was equal shares, and it should have been, and that's when it happened. I saw it with my own eyes. Dick started oozing black stuff. He reached for Will, and there was a scream. It was horrible. It was leaking out of his pores. I passed out. When I came around, he was gone. Will was here. I don't know where he would be, what he's doing.
With all the craziness today, I know, Mr. Anderson, this will sound completely as though I have lost my mind, but he said that they were his. It almost sounds like, and surely he's gone sadly insane, but it sounds as though he thinks that he's my Teddy.
Certainly sounds as though he believes something like that may have happened, madam. But we know this can't be the case. However, I'm interested in a. So, if what you say is true and he oozed black liquid, then surely there must be residue of that here somewhere, which may be able to help us and lead us to where they went. So I'll start going around carefully, looking to see if I can see any signs of this on the floor or directions in which his brother may have fled.
Okay, interesting. Okay, give me a spot hidden.
No, I fail.
There's nothing obvious. There is this smell, this residue, but beyond that, no.
But it's not. That smell's not coming from the body, is it?
No.
No. Let's search the rest of the house. Is it just the one room?
Can I follow that smell?
It's in the room. That's what I was asking for earlier, because I was going to Bisto kid it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a residue of a smell in the room.
Right. Okay.
Just
permeates the whole room.
Yeah. But it's not even very, very strong. Hence, you having to make rolls to detect it.
Are there any sign of like, I don't know, tar or oily footprints or anything? Or
no, that would be far too convenient. Convenient.
Okay, so maybe we should ask the beggars again to see if they saw anybody flee the scene. They're the eyes, we've been told.
First, I'd like to crouch down to Leo's sort of height if he's sitting, rocking back and forth, and look him in the eye and say, did he say anything else? Any other words? Make any gestures? Anything in particular about how he held himself? The words he used?
Can you give me a luck roll, please?
Ooh. Yes. I don't know how So my luck was 70 and this is a 13.
Yep, that is very good. That is very good.
Very lucky.
It's not you spending luck, it's you kind of seeing how lucky you were.
Okay.
And he's sort of rocking backwards and forwards, kind of traumatized. And he said he was, I didn't understand, but he said he was going to do what he should have done in the first place. I don't know what he means. I mean, me and my brother are fairly close. I mean, there's nothing what I can think of that he hasn't done.
And would I know what that meant off the top of my head?
Well, with your luck roll, what happens if your theory was right and it wasn't Dick speaking, but Theodore? And it was Theodore saying, should have done what I was going to do in the first place.
Mr. Ambrose, Sergeant Dobbs,
Yeah.
Mr. Trent.
Mom?
Mr. Anderson, I hope you'll forgive me for taking Mr. Trent into my confidence so quickly after you have spent nearly your life in earning my trust. But I feel it might take all of our powers working together for this. I can't help shaking the feeling that there is something to this idea, even if it's just the ravings of a demented man, that he truly believes. Maybe I can't even say it, is Teddy. If he says that he's going to do what he should have done in the first place, then Mr. Trent, what you think is a side put to the side to this purpose might actually be more important than we thought, because as far as I know, we had a loving relationship. He had nothing to resolve with me. I mourn him every day. Perhaps it was something he should have done in his business dealings, and that was what went wrong.
Mom, did he ever confide in you? Did he want to deal with the brasses? Maybe he felt his hand was forced there.
He never spoke business with me. He was a very kind man like you, trying to look out for me. The world is not really made for women.
So, Andy, being as I was his butler before I was Mom's butler, was I privy to any information about whether he wanted to deal with the brass or not?
You certainly know that there was a malaise that came across him in the last few days. He didn't confide in you, but that was his nature, not because of your status, but because he didn't like people to carry burden. It's why you suspect that the mining accident was perhaps no accident, and together with Tommy here and yourself, you did look into it, and for that to happen, it kind of had to be deliberate to bring that amount of stone down. Of course, it was investigated, as these things are, and it was investigated by the Brass family. Of course, it was their mining operation, and there was little to no deliberate fault to be found, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's never stuck with you that was the case. And maybe, I mean, if you can believe at all this, maybe Calpurnia is right. His unfinished business is with Jeremiah Brass.
If what you believe is true, Mom, then we have a decision to make.
Yes.
Either, well, if this is the case, he would be after Jeremiah Brass. But this seems madness to me.
I agree.
Wait,
By
so
any standards, it seems madness until the events of the past 2 days. Mr. Trent, what do you say?
are we saying that we believe that Theodore Duvall is reaching out from the grave to right some wrong that's been inflicted on him in his previous living existence? Is this what we're saying?
I'm with you, Mr. Trent. It is rather a large leap. However,
No, I think that's amazing. It's fantastic. That's proof of the life after death. Sorry to get kind of overexcited, but
Well,
it's a mystery, but this is also extraordinary.
do you think that Mr. Brass is in danger?
If he is, I don't know
Definitely.
if he is, I don't know whether I want to do anything about it. Tommy, we've talked about this before.
I think
So you seem to be having you're coming from the same direction I am then. So you suspect that the Brass family were involved in Mr. Duvall's death, as I suspect that the Brass family were involved in my dear sister's demise.
Nothing that I could ever prove, sir.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's the same with me. Cholera is cholera.
And therefore no reason to burden anybody with my suspicions, sir.
Time.
But maybe this is
probably of the essence.
Yes, because I'm just thinking,
Leo, how long ago did this happen?
Must have been about 2 days ago. Maybe, 36 hours rather than 48.
So Dick's been missing for over a day.
Mm-hmm. You were aware that the breaking in of the mausoleum happened about 2 days ago. They fled. Yeah. This happened more or less straight after that.
Right.
Everything hangs together with the timing of it. So it seems that Dick has been on the streets for maybe a day and a half.
So we're looking for an American. Sorry, someone from the colonies.
Yeah.
Sergeant Thomas, I served Mr. Duvall before I served Madame Duvall. If Mr. Duvall has an argument with the Brass, then that is his argument to have.
So you're saying that we should just let things play out?
I think I know who's paying my wages. I'm going to go and see Mr. Brass.
I think we're going to require Madame Duvall if we need to see Mr. Brass.
I think I can get in.
I mean, you could get in, Madame Duvall. You've been on good terms with him. He was the one that was instrumental in your move back across here. He's been, if nothing, but overly generous with you. In many ways, you have often been invited to soirees that either he's hosting or that other people have gone to, and it has been you that has declined them rather than you being ostracized.
Madame Duvall, may I ask a somewhat personal question? Does the land... I understand your husband entered into a contract with the Brass. Do you still have ownership of that land, even though there is a contract in place in the New World? Or is it solely owned by the Brass at this time?
That in my heartache and my desire to come away from that place, I left it in the hands of the executors of his will, and so I'm not sure what state the legalities are at right now. Perhaps Mr. Anderson knows more.
I mean, it's basically, this is cinematic agency for you. If you had decided to have a clean cut, you could have. There was an offer there, but it wasn't a pushy offer. So that is entirely your decision to make.
I took the offer, so I sold all my land there. I decided to make a clean break of it and make a new life here in the smoke.
I tried to look into it previously, but the brass keep their information close to their chests.
Their business dealings are, somewhat shady, shall we say. I mean,
if this man made me a widow, then I wish to accompany you.
As you wish, Mom.
And I, from a purely humane standpoint, even if I suspected him having any involvement in the death of my sister, I'm still a human being, and if we feel he is coming to harm, it's my obligation to try and prevent any harm to come to him, no matter what grievances I previously have with the man.
Stout fella.
I thank you.
Okay, it seems that decisions have been made. If everybody is okay, we can draw an end to this scene. And you are guided out of the squalor by Flo. She's been patiently waiting. You know where
I pay her. I give her a few coins.
Yeah. That is very generous. And she, thanks very much, mister.
Look after yourself, Flo.
Yeah, I'll be watching. She says, and then she disappears off into the smog. It's fairly easy here for you to wave down a Parker. Parkers are the coach drivers, the carriage drivers that can. You've certainly got enough money to afford one of these carriages that rapidly takes you to the offices of the Brass House. This is where you should find Jeremiah Brass at this time of day. It's a very large sort of property, and it is in one of the office districts of the smoke, called Cog Street District. It's where the gear vault is, all of the banking, a lot of the bigger businesses have offices here. As you arrive, you pay the Parker and you disembark the carriage. It's instantly a little strange, even though the hour is not too late. The blinds to the front of the office are pulled down and the door is closed, and there is a closed sign upon it. It looks unusual.
Any oily marks anywhere around the area? No
oily marks at all.
Is there any windows or anything open? Or I suppose
the blinds are pulled down.
Shall I try the door?
It opens.
One moment, Mr. Anderson. Can I just ask a question? What are we expecting to be walking into here? I'm merely saying that
We're going to see the boss.
Well, I understand that, but we're also talking about that possibly a entity from the afterlife is moving between bodies. Is this what we're...
Is that really likely?
But what are we expecting to find if we walk into a situation? I am ill-equipped. I am not a fighter. I have a book and some pencils. I do not believe that will protect me or inflict any harm on any supernatural being.
I understand the pen is mightier than the sword.
That's an interesting saying. I've never put it to test, though, and I really do not intend this situation to be that test.
I really don't think we're going to be doing any serious fighting.
That's fine. I'm going to stand behind you then.
Sure. Well, that's all right.
In answer to your question, though, I have as much idea about what we're about to step into as you do.
That doesn't give me much reassurance.
I can reassure
Fortunately
you.
not, but that's not my job.
If a madman came rushing in here 36 hours ago, he would either have succeeded in his nefarious tasks and escaped, in which case we will see nothing more terrifying than we've seen today, or everything will be fine. He would not still be here.
Or he's following us to find out where to go.
In which case, we've already lost. So we go in.
I'm not sure.
Everybody
the
looks around. Look round over your shoulder.
I'm not sure the brasses are that difficult to find.
No, I know.
No.
Are we going in, or are we going to debate what we have no idea about?
We go in.
We basically just want to know if Mr. Brass is still with us.
So the door opens. It's not locked. It looks like it was just closed and the sign was turned around. As you enter, you notice a number of things almost immediately. It's a large entrance hallway. There's 2 staircases going up to a balcony. You know that there is a third case. Thomas, you've been here a number of times to the offices of Jeremiah Brass. You've even been to his office. You know where he is. It's well appointed and very nicely decorated. You do see, though, that lying in the middle of the floor is a body. And you all notice there is a familiar smell of oil in the air. It's much stronger this
Is it
time.
lit? Is this well lit? Is it well lit here?
Yes, it is lit. You can see this quite clearly. But this smell of oil is not oil lamps. It's that other smell.
You smell
what are the clothes like on the body on the floor?
Yeah.
It looks like it was probably an assistant or sort of maybe receptionist of Jeremiah Brass. There's no smell of rot though. In terms
any sign of blood or anything like that? There's no
pool of blood. And there's no sign.
I'm going to check the floor out and just see if there's any sign of anything on the floor.
Captain,
as I approach the body slowly.
Yeah.
Just take a breath, and I hold my breath again and try to listen to see if I can hear anything out of the ordinary.
This is not his dump stat. This is what he does very well. I like to think you've got some very big ears.
Yeah, very much so. 27, so I think it's a hard. No, it's a. I'll burn 10 on that as well to get a hard success. Extreme success on it.
So burn all that luck.
Yep.
2 floors up. So this is the ground floor. There's the first floor, and then there's the second floor. Second floor is where Thomas knows the offices is. You can hear a scream. It's kind of muffled, but there is something bad happening up there.
Can I make a listen roll on that? See if or do we all just hear that?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, there's something happening 2 floors up right now.
My hand goes to my pocket.
Okay.
And I start moving towards the stairs.
Yeah, it sounds very much from where Mr. Anderson was pointing to. This would be his offices.
Former orderly queue, chaps, follow me. And as I go up the stairs, I pull out a revolver.
Okay.
The character creation only let me have a flintlock. I don't know why. Hoping that we've got revolvers.
Yeah, you can have a revolver.
Good.
I mean, it's kind of gaslight, but sort of 1900s revolver is absolutely fine. 1800s, you know.
Yeah. I've been in the colonies.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was hoping to have a 6-shooter.
6-shooter, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's Wild West.
Actually, to be honest, I've probably got an army issue revolver.
Yeah, it's suddenly it's gone from I've got a revolver. Oh yeah, I forgot elephant gun on my back.
No.
Forgot to mention
Just
that.
just a small sidearm for
Yeah,
I have an RPG.
yeah,
but definitely a British,
yeah.
a
Smoke.
made in the smoke, made in the
Yeah,
smoke, made in the
absolutely.
smoke.
So one assumes that you're all going to go up the first set of stairs and the second set of stairs. The door to Jeremiah Brass's office is kind of open. You do pass two more corpses as you are making your way up there. Again, assistants. Maybe one of them was security. Maybe you recognise them. Tommy, a good lad.
Right.
Spent some time. Doesn't look like it was any sort of trouble. You do notice that all of their eyes are whited out.
I don't like this. It's a bad business.
Jeremiah Brass screams again. He says, "No, this is not right."
I'm running.
Okay, the doors are open. You enter his offices. Again, a very, very well appointed office. A very expensive oak desk. Splendid bookshelves with very hard to get books. Blueprints of some of the greatest of the Brass's innovations sort of framed up on the walls, drinks cabinet, and you see him sort of backing away. Quite obviously there's been a little game of cat and mouse going on here, and he's being kind of spooked or stalked by someone you don't recognize as such, dressed in sort of poor
Like
clothing.
Leo?
Yeah.
Kind of dressed like Leo a bit.
Yeah. But there is also the very, very strong stench of oil in this room now. As you enter, he sort of turns and sort of looks at you and then stops for one moment.
I bring the pistol up, pointing at it. I say, now, be a good chap.
He sort
Let's
of
just back away from Mr. Brass.
raises his hands. Brass says,
And I kind of move. I start to move sideways with the gun pistol pointing at his torso, and I try to edge around to insert myself between Brass and him.
okay.
I'm following him.
Okay. Brass.
And in the meantime, I would have actually looked at one or all of these corpses with their white eyes now. So this will be the first time I'll have seen this sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
but you saw Will's though, because you made a sanity roll for that.
okay.
It will be the first time for me though, so
Yeah,
I will.
give us a sanity
I'll do a
roll.
sanity check, which is a pass on 51.
Yeah, so again, you're kind of expecting it. It's disturbing, and it's certainly not what you would consider to be natural.
I'm going to stay close to Madame Duvall.
Okay.
As the two gentlemen are trying to position themselves in the way of Mr. Brass, I'm going to make sure that Madame Duvall is not in harm's way as much as possible.
It's relatively easy to do, Tommy and Mr. Anderson, as soon as he sees Calpurnia, his attitude changes, as does his accent, and he says, "Darling, is it you? What have you done?"
As soon as I hear his voice,
Yeah.
I step in front of the officer's gun. You're now pointing it straight at me, not at him.
He takes a step towards you, Calpurnia. It's not the right voice, but it's certainly the right accent.
How do you sound?
It's me, Theodore, Teddy.
I'm going for a sun roll at this point.
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
I pass, strangely enough.
Okay. It doesn't smell.
I want you to be, but you cannot be. You cannot.
This is the point that he says, I can show you, and something horrible happens as his flesh begins to roil back and split and change and morph and mould. The horrible stench of oil kind of is almost overpowering as the flesh is literally rent and ripped apart as it slowly but surely re-knits into another form, that of your late husband. Can you all make me sanity rolls, please?
Oh, here we go. There's no luck on sanity rolls, is there, Andy?
It's just straight rolls.
Extreme success, if you can
Okay.
do that.
Well, a success is a success, really.
Yeah.
I failed by 2. I got
Okay.
67.
Okay, and
I passed, which
you
is
passed.
remarkable.
Okay, yeah, it is remarkable.
I got all my failures out of the way in the first half.
So, Calpurnia, do you know where your sanity is on your form?
Okay, so it starts at 99 and it went down to 98.
No, it's
No.
Your
It's
sanity
your power.
+5.
is
Oh.
your power.
Power.
It's my power. Okay, so 50. I was thinking, God, that starts awfully high. So it wasn't 50, so then it went to 49, and I rolled an 84.
Yeah, so you fail as well as your this voice, this smell of oil, and just this ripping of flesh and reforming of flesh. If you failed your sanity roll, you lose another 4 points. And if you passed, you lose 1 point each. If that means that you've lost more than a fifth of your sanity, your total sanity, that is possibly you go temporary insane.
You lost 5 so far.
It's 5 from a single roll that you need to do.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, rather than 5 over time.
More cumulative, yeah.
Yeah, overtime does add up. The flesh re-knits into the form of your husband, though. The voice is unique, is your husband's now, so is the accent. And he says, "Is that better?"
Step aside, Mr. Anderson.
I tried to do the right thing. I tried, and you've made it worse. He shouts at you now. You made it worse. When we were drilling, we uncovered something, a different kind of oil. It went in me. It took over me. I knew it was bad. It was trying to make me do things. And then you hear the voice of Dick as he takes over. But we can do bad things now. Your good man is got me as well, and the others, and united we are strong. No, you shouldn't have brought me here. You shouldn't have brought me here. I tried to bury myself. If I just tried to kill myself,
Step to the side.
remove myself, we would have lost everything. You would have lost them. You've lost everything anyway. You cannot defeat me now. And it took me time to get here because I wanted to, well, taste the minds of other people first before I came. And, well, I think I might move hosts to Mr.
Right, I'll
Brass
start
here.
shooting this bastard.
Okay. Can you give me a roll to hit?
I've saved all my luck, just in case.
Okay.
And I have missed.
Okay.
But I'm going to burn some luck to hit.
Okay. So
I'm
before
gonna
you burn the luck, something happens. You might still want to burn it. But as soon as the sound of the shot goes off, it's almost like bullet time. time itself seems to slow down. And as you kind of are watching, he's got his back to you. He doesn't even know you're there. Suddenly, out of his pores leak this black, oily substance that seems to start coating him as he becomes kind of covered in this oily tar substance. Do you want to carry on trying to hit him with that shot? Shoot the oily stuff?
Have I fired the bullet?
Yeah.
I'll see what happens.
Okay.
I shoot it and see what happens.
The bullet sort of hits him.
I'm not gonna burn the look. I'll just let it.
Yeah. The bullet hits him and just kind of stops and is absorbed by the ooze, and he kind of turns. Right.
Ah.
I was
Still got the
hoping
pistol pointed at.
you might be of use to me, but obviously not. And he turns and moves towards you. You see this oil now is transforming into claws and teeth, no longer human shaped.
I'm gonna unload my pistol into this.
Okay.
Because I'm pointing it at it, and I just think that he would.
I would like sanity rolls off everybody first, as you're seeing this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I actually passed.
Very good. So
I always said he had a cool head.
So if you failed, that's another 3 points. If you've passed, it's another point. So we move into what's called initiative order now. This is just purely your dexterity. So who has the highest dexterity?
Oh no, I've got 75.
So 75 for Mr. Anderson. What have you got,
Mine's
Sergeant?
50.
50 for the Sergeant. What have you got, Madame Duvall?
50 as well.
And I'm 55, Andy.
Okay, so you're going to unload again, and then we'll move to initiative orders. So, Sergeant, you can, with a 6-shooter, I believe, fire 3 times, unless there's rules for fanning the gun.
Well, no, that's fancy colonial stuff, fanning your gun. I'm going to, take aim and shoot like a.
Okay, each shot that
like
you
an English
take beyond the first, you get a disadvantage dice.
How far away from him is he, Andy?
I mean, relatively close. You're in an office, really, so it would count as point blank. So you can have a bonus dice to your first roll.
Oh, heck, right. Hang on. So that's it's the tens dice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting another D. Right. Okay.
That is fine.
Okay. So the first one is I've missed, but I've hit because I'm going to burn some luck.
Okay.
So I've rolled 64.
Okay.
And my shoot's 58. So I'm going to spend 6 points of luck.
Okay, 6 points.
To turn that into a hit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you give me some damage?
I don't know what damage to roll because I haven't got it on my character
sheet. For the 6-shooter, we will assume it's a D10.
Right, okay. Which I've got. 2.
2, okay. Are you taking a second shot? This thing does not seem to be trying to dodge or fight back.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and take a second shot because that was fairly pitiful. I mean, am I on a disadvantage dice now?
No, because it's point blank. We'll say this is straight.
This one's straight. Okay. 28 is a hard success.
I don't think there's anything for a hard success, but an extreme success, you'll do more damage.
Right. Okay. So this is a D10. 6.
Nice. Are you going to fire the third shot?
Yeah, I've got disadvantage on this one. Holy cow. Well, it would have been an extreme success. I've rolled 17 or 7. So 17, another hard success.
Yeah.
So it's just a another D10, isn't it? 3.
Okay, these bullets, easily enough, any of them to kill a man. He's knocked back by the weight of the shot, but you think you've done minimal, if not any damage, as it's absorbing this. We move to Mr. Anderson.
Is there any naked flame around?
Yes, there are sort of lanterns lighting this.
Is the fireplace on? What time of year is it?
It's always cold in the smoke.
So there's a fire on. There's cold fire.
Is the fireplace on? Okay.
I don't know. Would you like to give me a look roll?
Yeah, can do. Yes, it is. 11 out of 50.
Yeah, it's been lit. It's coming
Okay,
into late afternoon.
I turn to Mom. Mom, run. And I run straight at him and try and barrel him into the fireplace.
Okay, give me a fighting brawl.
Okay.
But always has to
I got a 3, so an extreme success.
Okay, it's like running into a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be stuck to the floor. What is interesting is that this tarry substance doesn't seem to directly be flowing onto you and traveling you. And he, for one moment, the black across his face that is forming this toothy maw kind of parts, and you see the face of your master, and he says, I could always rely on you. Trent, you'll go.
Seeing Mr. Anderson trying to go for the fireplace, I would assume.
Yeah.
Are there any lanterns in here that are lit or that are within sort of reachable? I'm basically going for one of those, and I'm going to attempt to throw it at the other side of the creature, or the opposite side to Mr. Anderson, if I can.
Mr. Anderson is hugging this creature at the moment, having run into it.
Then in that case, unfortunately, Mr. Anderson may become a byproduct of this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. It is a throw roll, though. Give us a throw. It is a skill in Cthulhu. Everybody looks down and goes, oh.
Oh, no.
He's not an athlete. No, that's a fail.
Okay, so it goes sailing across.
Burn luck.
No, seriously, I don't have that. Well, I do, but it won't leave me with much.
We haven't got long left.
Okay. He pushes you off, Mr. Anderson, because he's going to go. Actually, that was Trent. So we're on 50s at the moment. He's also on 50. He's not particularly fast moving. But he, for one moment, when this more sort of parts, and it is indeed the face of your husband, it turns towards you, Calpurnia, and says, help me. Together we will be strong enough to stop it.
Calpurnia heard Mr. Ambrose, Mr. Anderson. I keep going to the Matrix whenever I hear Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So she heard that, and she would obey it in the sense of taking good advice, but she's just so transfixed. She kind of runs up to him so that the two of them are looking at her husband, and she holds out her walking stick with the engraved top.
Yep.
Facing the guy, and says, Teddy, if there's any of you in there,
that is a very appropriate moment for you to freeze.
Tell me what this means to us. Huh?
You froze for the moment. You were trying to do
Oh,
that. Do you want
sorry.
to repeat? No, it's not your fault. It's technology.
If there's anything of you left in there, tell me what this means to us.
You and me can stop it together. I trust you. I know you. Your goodness and mine can overweigh the other ones that are with us.
You've not answered my question, Teddy.
You and me, we need to join together. Help me. I can't hold it back for...
And I'm going to so this was my attempt, maybe ill-advised at like a fast talk skill, trying to, or would that be something else? I'm trying to kind of talk him into.
Is give me a psychology roll.
Psychology. Where would I find that?
Under P.
Yeah, it'll be on the third column.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Almost as if I knew my alphabet.
You can have a bonus dice because you are actually talking to the mind of your husband at the moment.
Okay. I only have the one set out right now, so that was I've got luck out the wazoo. So I started with 70 and I haven't used any. I got a 43 and I needed a 10. So can I burn 33?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Burn it.
So
30.
you know your husband. You've known him very well, and he was a good man, a very good man. And from what he's saying now, this oil, this thing that has entered him, he was able to hold it at bay and not have it compel him. Since being taken and absorbed to these other minds that are in here, they're not as good as him, which has weakened his control and resolve. And he's asking permissions to take your mind so that the two of you in there can battle the demons within. It does mean that whilst you will live on together with your husband, he won't be living on in that form that you're currently taking. But he's telling you the truth with that success of a psychology roll, but it is a sacrifice that you can or cannot make.
I don't understand. What we fight forever against the people you absorb?
Yes, and do something to this thing that is, and it begins to transform again, getting ready to perhaps strike you down where you stand because you are a threat. So as it's transforming, you are both on simultaneous initiatives. So Thomas, what are you doing? It's simultaneous anyway, so it doesn't.
So Mr. Anderson attempted to. Sorry, I think I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. Mr. Anderson was wrestling this thing.
Yeah, not very successfully.
It didn't move at all. It was. He said it was like running into a brick wall.
I'm handy, just Yep. So it's not that I'm not handy. You would know I'm handy at this.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Trent? Did he throw the what did he throw?
He threw a
badly?
lantern and missed.
It seems like the right idea.
Sorry, can you hear me through this?
Yeah.
Yep, can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, I can't hear you. I put my spare microphones down, and now I can't find them. Hang on one sec. Sorry.
So anyway, it's simultaneous initiatives on 50. So whatever you do is going to happen, regardless of what Calpurnia does.
I'm gonna whip me my hat off and scoop up some coals in the fire
Right.
and throw them at it.
What kind of hat have you got?
I don't know, a bowler hat.
A bowler hat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Your hat starts. Can you give
Oh
me
yeah, right. So it's not. It doesn't have to do it for long.
Yeah.
Just...
Can you give me a throw roll? I would say at disadvantage as it's coming
Well,
out.
I'm actually gonna like slam them onto him.
Okay. So you're not throwing. Is this more of a?
No,
brawl?
I'm gonna hit him with the hat.
Okay.
You know, like trying to slam it onto him because my throw is crap.
Yes. I think most people in Cthulhu don't take throw unless you're an athlete.
The last time we played, I was a cricketer, and I did have throw.
Yeah. This time though, give me a fighting brawl.
I can manage a fighting brawl. At what we're rolling on 50%, and I've rolled 14.
14. That's going.
I'm gonna turn that into. I'm gonna spend 3 luck. No, 4 luck, and turn that into an extreme success.
Okay. So as he is transforming back, as he's taking back control and getting ready to raise, because it's his go next to actually rip you apart, Calpurnia. You put these coals upon him. It flares up a bit, but doesn't have the. It doesn't immolate, doesn't.
No.
But it definitely hurts him. It seems that heat, particularly burning coals, makes him feel something unlike the hot lead that you shot him with. But in that moment, he's distracted. The more of oil of this black substance kind of recoils, and once again, the face of your husband is revealed. Calpurnia, it is decision time. Can you hear us?
No. Try again.
It is all exciting here, as in this final moments we've lost communication with the lady of the moment.
She's in shock.
Yes, indeed.
She's got a lot to think about.
She has.
It's a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't take these things lightly. You don't want to rush into
life-changing.
it.
Definitely life-changing, right?
I mean, Andy, just a quick question in terms of the has the creature gone, or is that going after
the creature's going last? It hasn't acted yet.
Right. Okay.
But we might be here for some time before the creature acts. I just think it's a delaying tactic, actually. I think Jocelyn can hear us quite clearly, and
look.
Can you hear us?
Good.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear
you, mate.
Yeah, so I think it's just a delaying tactic to make me lose my thread, so that
you'll forget, and then everybody lives happily ever after.
I'm afraid that is the end of the stream. So yeah, well done, you survived in this moment of stasis.
Almost then, Jocelyn. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry.
You don't have to apologise. This is a game. We do this for fun, and technology is the bane of all of our lives. So there's no need to apologise in the slightest. But we're at a critical moment. I don't know if you can remember, but the essence of what your husband was is speaking to you, pleading with you to join with him so that the both of you can battle these other minds that are contained within this oil, but also at some point work out how to bring this oil to an end. Unfortunately, you know that means he's going to have to absorb your mind into the oil, which means you will be one of those bodies with the white eyes. He doesn't want to do this. He wants to do it, but he's asking your permission.
And it's too much for me to process, and I'm looking at Mr. Anderson, and I'm looking at Sergeant Dobbs, and Teddy, me? Just me?
Yes, you are everything. You're the light. You're my light.
I'm trying to set him on fire.
Yeah, at the moment we've got Mr. Anderson that's round his sort of waist trying to wrestle him. You've got Thomas Dobbs
crushing
coals into his back that doesn't seem to be hurting him very much. He's taken 3 bullets. Cooper is doing his part, waving a lantern and throwing it at distance.
More oil! More oil!
But it is up to you. It's basically, I know it's a big decision for you to make in character, but you get the feeling it's not really a decision to be made, because you think that if you don't do this, it's going to attempt to kill you. It might fail in that attack, but you can see that the darker side of these other minds are attempting to remove you from the equation, so this is not going to happen.
Ambrose, Tommy, I have to try.
Run.
I can't.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
He could kill you all.
He'll still be able to kill us all.
Not if what he's saying is true, and I think it might be. Please, let me do this for you. Let me try for you.
Run for me.
Ambrose, don't ask me to do that.
I've never asked you for anything. Run for me.
What have you asked Teddy for? Teddy, you don't want me to run.
Not Teddy.
But he's in there. He's in there somewhere. Maybe I can find him.
What's in there isn't... It's not right.
If I don't go join him, it'll keep being not right. Teddy, how do I join you?
Don't do it.
Just say you want to be with me.
Of course I do, but...
And with that, the oil rolls over you and your mind, if you want to, can resist, as you feel your mind linking with your husband's. You can feel that there are other minds there within this entity, but your husband's is the dominant one. It is your husband's mind. It is like 2 souls coming together. You can choose not to resist, or you can resist.
As soon as I said, of course I want to, it would have been followed by a but. And I want to do what Ambrose wants me to do, and I'm terrified by this. So I think in that sort of split second, changing your mind, not knowing how to decide, I'm going to change my mind again, and I'm going to try to resist.
Okay. So you resist. Can we have a opposed power roll? So what you have to do is roll percentage and tell me how you did with your power.
My power is a 50, and I got a 34.
Can she spend luck on it, Andy?
She can, but it doesn't matter because her husband is trying to do it and he wanted her permissions. So as you offer yourself as this meeting of souls, he feels your resistance and your will, and you pull away. And do you flee?
Yes.
Okay, you flee.
But I grab Ambrose by the scruff of the neck and I say, then come with me.
You don't. You have no option to do that.
Can I yell it?
You can yell it. Yes, Ambrose is currently trying to deal with this creature.
Okay.
And you turn and you run.
And the last thing you see is me trying to reach him with my bare hands into the fire to grab flames out of the fire.
And that is where we bring an end to tonight's game. You have fled. The brass offices are burnt to the ground. You read in the Trent press the following day. Calpurnia, you know that 3 of your companions, 2 of which you have known very well, and 1 of which you have only made the acquaintance of, perhaps made the sacrifice instead of you. How that burden weighs upon you is for you to decide. You would like to believe that in the burning down of the brass offices, they were successful in defeating this thing. That's what you would like to think. And that is where we will leave it for now. Thank you very much, everybody, for being an amazing cast. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There were swings and roundabouts there. Hopefully you all enjoyed it as well, and we can chat about it. There was actually quite a lot of things that we perhaps skipped over again. Too much for a one shot. But who knows, we might write it up and you will see all of the ins and outs of it. But I think you got the gist of it. If everybody's okay for a few minutes, I'll quickly sort of run you through it.
Sure.
Because the thing with Cthulhu is, it is a one shot. I'm not going to say how it truly ends, obviously. But your husband back in the new world uncovered a strange sort of oil. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it was because I might use it again. That oil had the ability to absorb minds, and what it was trying to compel your husband to do was to travel to the smoke and to use the smoke. The smoke is this huge polluted place, and it wanted to use that and grow from it. Your husband kept refusing and resisting the dominations and decided to bury himself so that he wouldn't be found again. Unfortunately, it did not work out too well. He only half did the job, and everybody wanted to uncover him. So the reason why it looked mysterious is that he deliberately set it up, but no one assumed that he was doing that. Jeremiah Brass, I mean, he likes money and he likes land, but he was innocent in any of this death. I can't comment on Cooper Trent's sister, of course. But he was guilty. He wanted the drilling to carry on and he wanted to move things forward. It was a simple business transaction. in effect to persuade you to come to the smoke, leave your holdings behind, start a new life, which is what you did. Nothing happened for a couple of years, and then unfortunately the mausoleum got broken into, and the oil within your husband had grown bored. It touched on a new mind, a mind that he could definitely use, and it leaked out what little was left into Dick. The rest you kind of know. The reason why he didn't make it straight to the brass offices is that it was absorbing other minds and gaining its strength before it could come to the brass offices. What it really wanted to do is have that influence and absorb Jeremiah's brass's mind, so that it could, you saw the transformation, the not so much polymorphing, but the flesh crafting of it being able to transform its shape into Jeremiah Brass, and obviously be head of one of the greatest houses to work out its plans and agendas. It took 3 of you to possibly stop it, and the brass offices. Obviously, Jeremiah Brass did escape, and so did you, Calpurnia Duvall. And that is the entirety of the story. So I think you got most of it, and you did very well. This is Cthulhu. There's no happy endings. There's no we're all going to succeed.
It's just keeping the darkness out for another
That's
day.
right. Absolutely.
Cool, you look dying, right?
Yep. And you looked very cool, burning the place down. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching live or watching on catch up, really appreciate it. If you did like what we've done, please give us a like and a subscribe. And I want to say once again a massive thank you to you all for spending some time with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. In the meantime,
Cheers,
I will
Chris.
catch everybody for the 6 o'clock club tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Everybody take care and good night for now. Bye bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks all.
everyone. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Night.